Chapter 81. Du Liu and Lu Cheng could only be considered as classmates, not friends. He had his own little circle of friends, and had planned to sit with his best friend Xiong Tao. However, Lu Cheng had suddenly inserted himself into the seat. He was confused. After Qin Rui finished his story, Xiong Tao, who was standing at the side in a daze, patted Lu Cheng on the shoulder. "Hey Lu Cheng, why are you sitting in my seat? I have something to ask Du Liu. I'll return your seat to you later." "Sorry." Lu Cheng looked straight into Xiong Tao's eyes calmly. Xiong Tao was a little annoyed at first. However, when he met Lu Cheng's eyes, heard his sincere words, and felt his confidence and calmness, his anger disappeared. Instead he smiled and said, "What's the matter? Can you tell me about it?" "Just a little gossip." Lu Cheng turned to Du Liu and smiled. "Tell me about your experience." Du Liu suddenly realized and pointed at Jiang Fei, who was sitting in the row behind. "Fatty Jiang, didn't we agree to keep it a secret?" Jiang Fei looked tired. "It's not the first time you know that I have a big mouth." Beside him, Cheng Chili couldn't hold back his laughter and burst out laughing. Du Liu was annoyed and amused. No wonder Song Li said that everyone in her class knew about it. "It's all because of your big mouth. I was still wondering when we were seen again." "Good job, Fatty Jiang. You took the blame for your brother." Lu Cheng praised in his heart. He smiled and said, "So tell us honestly. Don't let us torture you." Oddly enough, Du Liu knew that he wasn't familiar with Lu Cheng, but his confident and generous attitude and humorous words seemed to reduce the gap between them. Du Liu said subconsciously, "What's there to explain? Isn't it just this and that?" As his best friend, Xiong Tao already knew about his relationship with Song Li. He didn't find another seat but stood beside Lu Cheng. With one hand supporting the back of the seat, he said with a smile, "Details. We want to know the details. This kind of thing could easily cause a commotion." Lu Cheng copied Kai Xiaoming. He looked at Du Liu and pointed at Xiong Tao. "Did you hear that? The voice of the masses. Tell me, how did you and Song Li begin?" Du Liu's voice was not loud, and it was limited to the 2 rows of people in the noisy environment. Du Liu relaxed a little and scratched his head. "Aren't we in the same city? Not long after school started, a senior brother organized a party for us. You know, she was very close to Yin Jika at that time. They often hung out together, and were well known in our grade. Of course, I was very surprised and excited to meet an acquaintance. So I boldly asked for her phone number and QQ number. She seemed very happy and didn't refuse. Well, there are 4 great joys in life: meeting an old friend in a foreign land." "Damn it! Are you trying to turn meeting an old friend in a foreign land into a wedding night?" Jiang Fei couldn't help but complain. "And then? You've already started to pursue her?" Xiong Tao had already answered for Lu Cheng, full of enthusiasm. Du Liu's eyes widened. "How is that possible? After we got to know each other better, Song Li would ask me for help from time to time. She would drag me along when she was traveling around. Think about it, she's not bad looking. Except for being a little shrewish, she's quite cheerful and lively. I couldn't help but fall in love with her." "Shrewish." Lu Cheng silently memorized his words in his little notebook. He teased, "According to what you said, she was the one who made the first move?" There was also a gathering for the provincial fellow townsmen meeting in Songcheng, but at that time, he and Yinjika had already started their special martial arts training, so they couldn't find a suitable time to attend the meeting. So they simply ignored those people. "I think so. Back then she kept looking for me. My roommates all said that such a classmate relationship would develop into adultery sooner or later." Du Liu said with a hint of pride. "I don't believe it. Why would a girl like Song Li fall in love with you?" Xiong Tao said sarcastically. Du Liu said with a smile, "I don't know. Maybe she saw that I'm more mature and steady." Retch. Lu Cheng, Jiang Fei, Xiong Tao and Cheng Chili beside them were all retching. "What are you talking about? Why are you so happy?" Xiao Hailin had been chatting with them from the front to the middle. She was more like a teacher than the 2 head teachers. "We're talking about Du Liu in Class 3. Song Li from Class 3. Jiang Fei, the big mouth, made a broadcast without hesitation. Halfway through, Du Liu wanted to stand up and cover his mouth, but Jiang Fei cleverly dodged. Xiao Hailin's eyes widened. Du Liu and Song Li from class 3 are dating? Yeah, homeroom. We're asking him for advice. Do you want to hear it too? Lu Qing said while giving Cheng Chili a look. He wanted him to take the initiative to tell Qiu Hailin what had just happened. Qiu Hailin listened with great interest. Her gossipy nature was aroused. Well done, Du Liu. You've won glory for our class. I heard that someone from class 3 Jia something once pursued Song Li. I know. Song Li said that Jia Yu likes to pretend to be a scholar and a scholar. She doesn't like him at all. Du Liu said with a smile. How does it feel to be in a relationship? Lu Qing interrupted, doing his job as a spy and a traitor. Du Liu thought for a while and said, I can't describe it with words. It was wonderful at the beginning. Now it's okay. Although she's a little too nosy, everything else is good. After listening to him, Jiang Fei, the forever single dog, quietly asked, which base are you guys at now? With a puff, Qiu Hailin blushed and looked to the side. Du Liu was embarrassed and angry. He said fiercely, Get lost. How can you ask such a question in public? Lu Qing laughed as he remembered the key point. He was a little too nosy. Everyone laughed and laughed. Time flew by. The bus drove to the entrance of Spring Scenery Field Conference Villa. Tao Xiaofei's BMW was already parked nearby. When he got off the bus, Lu Qing bumped into his homeroom teacher, Old Wu. He smiled and greeted him. Long time no see, Mr. Wu. You're getting more energetic. Haha. Old Wu laughed. Lu Qing, you've learned how to talk. In the past you'd say hi, Mr. Wu at most. You make it sound like I was in kindergarten and just learned how to talk. Lu Qing said humorously. The other students couldn't help but laugh. Old Wu said cheerfully, Not bad. Looks like you've learned a lot in Songqing University. Yes, Mr. Wu. I've joined Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Lu Qing deliberately bent his elbow to show off his muscles. Old Wu was surprised. He looked at him from head to toe. I know you like martial arts, but I didn't expect you to go there specifically to learn. It's good for your body. You can't be like me, skinny and weak. While they were talking, everyone entered the villa. For the time being, no one was going out on their own. They sat around Old Wu and teacher Xian in the tea house and chatted about their high school days. For example, Tao Xiaofei was a mischievous boy who always talked back to teacher Xian, who had just graduated from university 2 years ago. There were also times when Old Wu would sneak in from the back of the class and watch everyone in silence. Old Wu and teacher Xian would also reveal their mental journey back then and truthfully describe their own impressions of themselves. Reminiscing about the past was always heartwarming. As long as it wasn't too bad, it was a different feeling to talk about it. It was like returning to the most youthful years of their lives. And most people didn't have the pressure to study anymore. Only when they couldn't go back did they understand how precious it was. After sitting and chatting for a while, Lu Qing felt that this class reunion was not in vain. After almost an hour, some people asked their friends to go to the free KTV to sing, play table tennis and badminton, and walk around the nearby mountain path to breathe in the fresh air. Lu Qing, Jiang Fei, and the others kept Old Wu and Mr. Xian company, talking and chatting. Many things that were inconvenient to talk about during their school days could now be talked about, like the truth behind the sick leave. There was less fear and awe between the teachers and students, and more comfort as friends. When it was almost 12 o'clock, the students gathered again and headed to the banquet hall of Nanyuan. There were more than 50 people, and after squeezing a little, 5 tables were set up. Each table had white wine, beer, red wine, coconut milk and orange juice. Seeing that everyone was seated, Qiu Hailin stood up, holding a glass of red wine. Full of energy, she spoke like a speech. Everyone has graduated for a semester. Today, we are gathered here for the sake of our youth and friendship that will never fade. Teacher Wu and teacher Xian have accompanied us for 3 years, taught us for 3 years, and worked hard for us for 3 years. Let us first toast to them. Everyone clinked their glasses against the glass turntable, then stood up and poured wine for themselves. It was a mess. Without a second thought, Lu Qing took the coconut juice and poured himself a cup. Hey Lu Qing, why are you drinking like a girl? Tao Xiaofei, who was sitting at the same table, complained. More than 10 people glanced at him, But Lu Qing didn't feel embarrassed. He said calmly, "I've quit drinking." At this moment, Qiu Hailan raised her glass. "Cheers." As soon as she finished speaking, Tao Xiaofei said, "Wait a minute. We have a guy here who is not a girl. Why are you using a drink instead?" In a flash, everyone's eyes were fixed on the glass in Lu Cheng's hand, which was full of coconut milk. If it was in the past, Lu Cheng would have blushed and wanted to find a hole to hide in. He wouldn't be able to bear this feeling and would quickly change the drink in his glass for wine. But at this moment, he was calm and didn't think it was a big deal. He looked around, raised his glass and said loudly, "Mr. Wu, Mr. Xan and everyone, I'm now practicing martial arts with Songqing University Martial Arts Club. I've quit drinking, so I'll use a drink instead to toast to you." The foppish guy sitting in front of him was actually a good person. He never deliberately bullied his classmates, but he liked to talk dirty. He was also more self-centered and didn't care about other people's feelings, just like just now. Tao Xiaofei was immediately dissatisfied. "We haven't seen each other for half a year. What's wrong with drinking a little? What can this little bit of wine do to you? Can't you break the habit and drink a little for Mr. Wu, Mr. Xian, and us? You're not a good friend." Lu Qing looked straight into his eyes. His smile didn't change, but his tone was firm. "Didn't Mr. Wu teach us that an ant's nest can destroy a 1,000-mile dike? Once you break the habit, you can't quit." Tao Xiaofei wanted to say more, but old Wu had already raised his glass and said, Okay, we're all here for a class reunion. Let's have fun. If you want to drink, drink. If you want to drink, drink. If you want to drink, drink. Don't force others. Female students, you have to be more careful. If you don't want to, you have to be careful," he said humorously and finished the light liquor in his glass in one gulp. "Cheers to the past 3 years. Cheers." The students also drank the drinks in their cups. Just as Lu Cheng sat down, Jiang Fei leaned over and said with admiration, "In that atmosphere just now, I thought I wouldn't be able to hold on. I could only drink a sip, and it wouldn't be considered breaking the habit. I didn't expect you to be able to hold on. It's also a way to train my willpower. If I can't hold on to this level of pressure, how can I go on the road of martial arts in the future?" Lu Qing said casually. At the dinner table, Tao Xiaofei made a face, but he didn't find fault with Lu Qing. He just treated him coldly, not as affectionately as when they first met. After dinner, Qin Rui asked everyone to go to the North Garden to wait for the competition to start. He excitedly told Lu Qing, Jiang Fei, and the others that the person in charge of the Golden Foundation would watch the competition in person. As long as they performed well, they might get more resources in the preliminaries after the new year. Therefore, both sides paid more attention to the competition. At the entrance of the North Garden, Qin Rui and the people from the Gushan Martial Arts School met up. Tao Xiaofei, who had been hanging around bars all year round, was obviously no stranger to this group of martial artists. He went up and talked cheerfully with the leader of the group. The underworld and martial arts schools were inextricably linked. Even if these thugs were unorthodox before, they would still want to learn proper martial arts after they had some money. They would want to improve their strength and gradually climb up the ranks. Since Tao Xiaofei had a relationship with Qin Rui, of course he would call the thugs from the Gushan Martial Arts School brothers. "Do you think Tao Xiaofei will ask the people from the Gushan Martial Arts School to beat you up?" Jiang Fei looked forward and said with a talent for provoking. If they really fought, he wouldn't worry at all. With Cheng's talent for endurance, even if he couldn't beat them, he could still walk them to death. Lu Qing glanced at him and said, "Is it necessary? It's just a matter of persuading people to drink." Although he said so, he still used the condensation stance to eavesdrop on what Tao Xiaofei was saying from a short distance away. "Brother Feng, don't you think it's funny? A man who became a monk suddenly told me that he wants to quit drinking in order to practice martial arts. You're so powerful, but I don't see you not drinking in private. What's wrong with taking a sip or two? You don't give me any face. A pot of water doesn't make a sound, but half a pot of water does." No. I'm just complaining. We've been classmates for 3 years, so there's no need to fight over such a trivial matter. At most, we won't keep in touch with each other anymore. Lu Qing listened and smiled slightly. Tao Xiaofei's nature was really good, but he was too self-centered. At this moment, his eyes suddenly froze, because a man in his 30s was walking towards him. He had a neat buzz cut, wore a short leather jacket, and wore shiny leather shoes. Just by looking at his appearance, he looked like an ordinary person you could find on the streets. But what caught Lu Qing's attention at first sight was the vigorous qi and blood around him. When the body refining stage reached the limit, the qi and blood were close to the current peak, but they couldn't be integrated and controlled freely. Therefore, the vigorous qi and blood could almost be turned into a kind of fierce feeling. Those who had never met a professional ninth pin fighter might not be aware of this, but after meeting Lin Ke for a long time, and fighting with Wang Yi, Yi Yaoting, and Zhou Yuaning, Lu Qing was very sensitive. At first sight, he believed that the man was a professional ninth pin fighter. Even if he was not as strong as Lin Ke, Yi Yaoting, and the others, he was not far behind. Moreover, this man's eyes were unusually sharp and indifferent, giving people a sense of danger. If Lin Ke, Yi Yaoting, and the other professional ninth pin fighters were tigers in the zoo, who could hurt people, but always lacked a little wildness, then the man in front of them was a wolf wandering in the wilderness. A professional ninth pin fighter. Is he the chief general invited by the foundation? But this thing hasn't started yet, right? Lu Qing was a little confused, seeing that the man was getting closer and closer to his team. When they were about to pass by each other, the man in the short leather jacket suddenly staggered and bumped into the leading young man beside Tao Xiaofei. The leading young man was tall and strong, with thick eyebrows and big eyes. He was very energetic. He frowned and blurted out, "How do you walk?" The man in the short leather jacket stared back at him. "Don't you have eyes?" As soon as his voice fell, his momentum suddenly burst and turned into a hungry hunting wolf, as if he had been waiting for a long time. Lu Qing suddenly realized that he was here to pick a fight. To pick a fight against Gushin Martial Arts School. Chapter 82. Even though there was a distance between them, Lu Qing, who was naturally in the condensation stance state, could feel the terrifying aura of the man in the short leather jacket. The surroundings seemed to have become empty all of a sudden. The cold moon hung high in the sky, the cold wind and the bitter rain. A giant wolf with green eyes was howling at the sky, ready to attack, which made people shudder. Lu Qing was shocked. The aura of the man in the short leather jacket could directly affect his spirit and soul? This was something that Lin Ke, Yi Yaoting and Wang Yi couldn't do. Bam! As soon as the voice of the man in the short leather jacket fell, he pulled his right arm back like a drawn bow and shot out a punch. The punch was strong and powerful, and the sound of the wind was short. The leading young man didn't expect that he would start the fight without saying anything. He had no time to react, so he could only put his arms forward and put on the most rigid defense posture. With a muffled sound, his body swayed and blocked the blow. The man in the short leather jacket leaped to the side with the help of the rebound force and shouted, "Hey! You have more people, so I won't argue with you." As he spoke, he quickly left. The group of Gushin Martial Arts School disciples were at a loss, as they stood rooted to the ground. They had yet to figure out what had happened. It wasn't too rare to have a dispute with someone on the side of the road over a trivial matter. But it was too strange to have such a strong start and weak finish. Wasn't it too strange for it to come to an abrupt end? The man who provoked them just tried and left in a hurry. They didn't understand what he was thinking. If he was afraid of the number of people here, why did he force himself to fight? Was it because he couldn't hit them, so he ran away immediately? Lu Qing was also confused. Did the provocation against Gushin Martial Arts School just go away like this? The other side had invited a mighty one of the professional ninth pin. Was it necessary to play house like a child? "Senior brother Dai, are you okay?" Qin Rui came back to his senses and asked his eighth senior brother Dai Linfeng. Dai Linfeng was the strongest disciple of his generation in the martial arts club. He was already of amateur first pin at the age of 20. Even among the martial uncles, he was only weaker than his master. Dai Linfeng moved his arms and said with confusion, "I'm okay. Maybe it was just a moment of impulse. Let's go in quickly. Don't let our master and chairman Wei wait for too long." The man just now was not weaker than him. Why did they have such an inexplicable conflict? Fortunately, he was fine. If he couldn't figure it out, he wouldn't think about it for the time being. The disciples of Gushan Martial Arts School and Lu Cheng's classmates were even more confused. They turned their heads and put this episode behind them, stepping into the Beiyuan gymnasium. Something strange. Lu Cheng frowned slightly and muttered under his breath. Beside him, Jiang Fei's ears were quite sharp. He heard his words and asked in surprise, "What's strange? Wasn't it just a small friction that didn't turn into a big conflict? We do have the advantage in numbers." Lu Cheng looked around and saw that no one was paying attention to his conversation with Jiang Fei. Then he lowered his voice and said, "That guy just now was of professional ninth pin. If he really attacked, how could Senior Dai, whose reaction was obviously slower, not get hurt?" Professional ninth pin? Jiang Fei almost could not control his voice. Then why did he run away after just one move? That's why I said it's weird. Lu Cheng pursed his lips. Jiang Fei looked at him doubtfully. "Are you sure you didn't see wrongly? He only threw out one punch. How could he prove that he was of professional ninth pin? Look at that senior brother Dai, he doesn't even care about it." "I'm sure," Lu Cheng answered firmly. The feeling of the vigorous qi and blood and the horrifying momentum couldn't be faked. "Forget it. Anyway, nothing serious happened." Jiang Fei was stunned. Since he couldn't find a good explanation, he simply chose to forget it. The martial arts stadium of the conference villa was not big. The ring was of the standard type. The surrounding seats were only 2 or 3 steps away from it. The height was only 5 rows, but it could accommodate hundreds of spectators. But this was a private venue for guests who liked martial arts. There was no need to consider the audience. The dome lights were shining brightly. A group of people were sitting on the left side of the entrance. The leader was a middle-aged man in his 40s. He was wearing a suit and leather shoes. His hair was neatly combed back, reflecting the dim light. He had heavy eye bags and was not in good spirits. But he had a kind of dignity, as if he had been in a superior position for a long time. Seeing Dai Linfeng, Lu Cheng and others enter, he was stunned at first. Then he came to greet them. Beside him were 2 old men in their 50s. One had sharp eyes, but his face was full of wrinkles. The other had cloudy eyes, but he took good care of himself. There was no white hair or wrinkles. Both of them still had vigorous qi and blood. At least they could still turn into substantial qi. In other words, they still had some of the physical qualities of professional ninth pin. "Chairman Master." Dai Linfeng and other disciples of Gushan Martial Arts School hurriedly saluted. Chairman of the foundation Wei Renjie smiled and said, "Dai Linfeng, you are in good spirits. Today you are going to show your strength. Who are these friends?" "Chairman, they are my high school classmates. Today is a gathering. They are here to cheer for me." Qin Rui had been waiting for this opportunity to get familiar with them. "High school? Which high school are you from?" Wei Renjie greeted them with an amiable attitude. Qin Rui quickly explained, "We just graduated half a year ago. We are from number 1 high school. These 2 are our head teachers, Teacher Wu and Teacher Xian." "Oh, Teacher Wu. I have heard of him. He is a special class teacher in number 1 high school." Wei Renjie walked up to old Wu and held his hand. "I also graduated from number 1 middle school, so I'm your senior. You are the morning sun, the pillars of Xioshan in the future. When you graduate from university, don't forget your hometown." He spoke in a bureaucratic tone, but his expression showed that he was very happy. When he saw his classmates, he was reminded of his most youthful and spirited years. As a special class teacher, old Wu had seen many leaders, especially those whose children were still in school. They were very enthusiastic about him. Therefore, he was not afraid and said with a smile, "I am no stranger to Chairman. You were the pride of number 1 high school. After graduation, you applied to go back to your hometown. When the old principal talked about you, he was full of praise." His words scratched Wei Renjie's itch. He felt good from the bottom of his heart and said with a smile, "I haven't seen the old principal in a long time. Come, let's sit together. What is the purpose of our team to participate in the preliminaries? First, it's to make Xioshan famous. Second, it's to get the country's resources to favor it. Third, It's to make everyone pay more attention to martial arts and increase their interest in strengthening their bodies. I'm very happy to have all of you here to watch this competition. It's a small achievement. Everyone, you can't neglect martial arts and strengthening your body while studying. Otherwise, you'll be like me, old and sick. Wei Renjie was very excited and introduced two old men to Lu Cheng and the rest. These two seniors are the mainstays of Xiushan's martial arts circle. This is Mr. Chu Weikai, the head of Gushan Martial Arts School. This is Mr. Ning Xuanli, the head of Mingwei Martial Arts School. Chu Weikai was the one with heavy wrinkles and sharp eyes. Ning Xuanli was the one with good maintenance and cloudy eyes. After a few words of courtesy, they led their disciples to sit on two sides and waited for the competition to start. Wei Renjie stopped talking and walked to the arena. Since there was an audience, he naturally had to give a speech out of habit. After a long speech, he got to the point. This time, we have invited Mr. Zhu Zusho from Liuhe Martial Arts School of the provincial capital to be the referee. We have a real combat practice for the preliminaries after the new year. There will be a total of 3 matches. The first match, Dai Linfeng from Gushan Martial Arts School versus Zhou Zhengyao from Mingwei Martial Arts School. Both of them are strong fighters of amateur first pin, and are the hope of Xiushan's martial arts circle. When he got off the arena, Dai Linfeng and Zhou Zhengyao came to the arena from both sides, and stood respectively on the left and right sides of the referee. The former was wearing a blue martial arts suit with white edges, and the latter was wearing red with black. He also had a square face with thick eyebrows and big eyes. If he was in a TV series, he would definitely play the role of a decent character. However, there was a strong sense of hostility between his eyebrows. "Cheng, who do you think will win?" Jiang Fei asked with interest. Lu Cheng rolled his eyes at him. "How can I tell when the fight hasn't started? Don't experts have some kind of momentum and temperament?" Jiang Fei asked curiously. Lu Cheng said grumpily, "There are indeed experts, but you can't judge the winner by that. Moreover, they can't be called real experts. They are not even professional level." His voice gradually lowered because he sensed that both sides were looking at him. The relatives and friends of both sides were here. Oh, Jiang Fei understood and focused on the match. After 3 minutes of conversation, the referee announced the start of the match. Both sides were in a mess. The sound of punches and kicks could be heard clearly. It was very lively. "Cheng, I think it's interesting, but I can't see the knack for it. Can you tell me more about it?" Jiang Fei turned his head and said. Cheng Qili, Qiu Hailin, Chao Lele, Du Liu, Xiong Tao and the others also looked over. Lu Cheng didn't hide anything. He said with a smile, "Mingwei Martial Arts School takes the path of strong and fierce attack. Besides, they are good at using their elbows, knees, shoulders, back and head. Wasn't the headbutt just now quite unexpected? Their fighting style is relatively extreme. They rarely parry and attack with attack. Gushan Martial Arts School is close to Xingyi School. Didn't senior brother Dai use the downward chop with tiger hug?" Listening to his clear explanation, Qiu Hailin and the other students around him pricked up their ears. They listened and watched at the same time. Suddenly they understood a lot. They were no longer just watching and cheering. While talking, Lu Cheng frowned. "There is something wrong with senior brother Dai from Gushan Martial Arts School. He is so timid, as if he has never fought before. Is this possible? Is it because he is not focused enough and his mind is not on the arena? There are so many people watching." His words weren't loud, but many disciples of Gushan Martial Arts School could be considered to have trained their ears and eyes. They faintly heard him and looked over indignantly. However, schoolmaster Chu Weikai was startled and then frowned. Suddenly, Lu Cheng's mind flashed and remembered the momentum of the professional ninth pin just now. Even though he was a distance away, he felt as if he was facing a vicious wolf in the wilderness. How would senior martial brother Dai, who was charging straight ahead, feel? Could it be that the person who provoked him just now affected his mind and left him with fear, so he couldn't concentrate for a while? Lu Cheng said to himself. To be able to directly exert this kind of influence on the mind, it was no longer the martial arts of the body refining level, but supernatural ability. The provocation just now was to create an opportunity for senior brother Dai to be affected mentally, so that he couldn't use his strength and failed miserably in front of the foundation's chairman. And this method couldn't be found out after the fact, so there was no way to explain it. No wonder the whole thing was so anticlimactic and confusing. Just as he finished speaking, he suddenly felt a few pairs of eyes looking at him. He looked over and saw that Gushin Martial Arts School's Chu Weikai was shocked. He retracted his gaze and grabbed the disciple beside him to ask in a low voice. The other pairs of eyes were from Mingwei Martial Arts School. Schoolmaster Ning Xuanli slowly turned his head, and his eyes were half closed again. At this moment, Dai Linfeng's movements were slightly sluggish, and Zhou Xingyao seized the opportunity to hit him with a whip kick. He lost his center of gravity, broke his stance and retreated quickly. Then he was attacked and directly fell out of the arena. Zhou Xingyao wins. The referee announced the result. Qiu Hailin, Chao Lele and the rest turned their heads and looked at Lu Cheng. They were quite surprised by his prediction just now. Cheng, you didn't learn anything else after joining the martial arts club, but your judgment and commentary skills have improved a lot. Qiu Hailin joked. Chao Lele also joined in and joked. Even if you didn't learn any martial arts, you can still make a living with this. Before Lu Cheng could say anything, Jiang Fei beside him said loudly, Cheng not only has a good judgment and commentary skills, but his martial arts are also very good. I feel that he is no worse than the one on the arena just now. In a flash, everyone looked over. Some were surprised and some were amused, which made Lu Cheng blush slightly. Jiang Fei also lost his momentum and said with a dry laugh, It's just a feeling. It's just a feeling. Seeing Lu Cheng looking at him with hidden bitterness, Jiang Fei hurriedly said in a low voice, You didn't say that I can't talk about your martial arts. I know that I can't brag about this kind of thing. It's embarrassing, so I'll leave it to you. You're welcome. Chapter 83. Lu Cheng was stunned. He carefully recalled what he told Fatty Jiang, and realized that he didn't mention that he couldn't say that his martial arts had improved by leaps and bounds. He only asked him to forget that he had dealt with the thugs of the underworld in a few moves. Because of Fatty Jiang's surrender, there was a burst of good-natured laughter around, as if they had finally found something fun other than martial arts. Forget it. I don't intend to hide the fact that my martial arts level is close to the professional level. If I enter the finals of the National University Martial Arts Competition in the future, there will be satellite TV broadcasting. So I can't hide it even if I want to. It's just that I don't have to take the initiative to mention it in front of my high school classmates. If I tell everyone that I've recently awakened my martial arts talent and reached the professional level in less than half a year, I've even defeated 2 ninth pin experts, it'll be too obvious, too superficial, and too embarrassing. Damn it, isn't this what Fatty Jiang said just now? Lu Cheng calmed down as these thoughts flashed through his mind. He was calm and collected in front of everyone's gazes. He wasn't going to explain or prove himself. It's up to them whether they believe it or not. Fatty Jiang, your intuition is never right. Qiu Hailin teased him with a smile. She glanced at Lu Cheng and said, Hey, do we have to call you Hero Lu? Chao Lele also joined in. I can't believe I've been desk mates with a hero for 2 years. What an honor. Fatty Jiang was a little anxious when he saw the similar attitude of the students who heard the conversation just now. He was about to argue when Lu Cheng suddenly opened his mouth with a serious expression. You can't call me that. Chao Lele, Cheng Qili, Du Liu and the others were stunned, thinking that their joke had gone too far. Qiu Hailin subconsciously asked why. Lu Cheng suddenly laughed. You can't call me old. Call me young hero. Understand? Young hero Lu. Pfft. Everyone around burst into laughter. Jiang Fei leaned forward and backward, his fat jiggling. Damn it, Cheng, you're getting funnier. Qiu Hailin also laughed. She looked at the person beside her and said, Lele, Cheng wasn't so talkative before, right? She studied in the capital and learned some local words and phrases. Chao Lele wiped the corners of her eyes. Although he wasn't introverted at that time, he wasn't so cheerful either. It's so funny. After joking around for a while, the disciples of Gushin Martial Arts School and Mingwei Martial Arts School retracted their gazes. It was too degrading to compare themselves with others bragging. At this moment, Dai Linfeng came back from the other side of the ring with a gloomy face, as if he had realized that he had been tricked. The chairman of the foundation, Wei Renjie, shook his head slightly and whispered a few words to old Wu beside him. He stood up and waved at Lu Cheng. I didn't expect there to be a student in our #1 middle school who is proficient in both the pen and the sword. Lu Cheng, come over and have a chat. Lu Cheng's comments about the competition were only heard by the nearby students, some disciples of the 2 martial arts schools who had good hearing and sight, and the club masters who had reached professional 9th pin. Due to the noise around, Wei Renjie didn't pay attention. However, Fatty Zhang's raised voice came into his ears and aroused his curiosity. He asked old Wu about Lu Cheng's name, school and other information. As soon as he said that, 200 to 300 pairs of eyes fell on Lu Cheng, making him the center of attention in the arena. Qiu Hailin, Chao Lele, Du Liu and the others had strange expressions on their faces. They were worried that Wei Renjie would take Lu Cheng's words seriously and treat him as a master. If he made a fool of himself, he wouldn't be able to clean up the mess. On the other hand, Tao Xiaofei and the disciples of the 2 big martial arts clubs were gloating. Who told you to boast? Yao Kong, a disciple of Mingwei Martial Arts School who rarely looked away from his phone, also found it funny. He mentioned it to someone on QQ as an interesting thing. Lu Cheng deliberately stared at Jiang Fei, then left his seat and walked to the first row. He wasn't afraid of the chairman of the foundation at all. He didn't even respect him. As far as he was concerned, he had yet to enter society. Things like officials and leaders were vague. He was afraid of counselors, lecturers, professors, principals, and masters. It was only natural for him to be in awe of powerful martial artists. As for other things, he didn't expect much from others. A newborn calf wasn't afraid of tigers. Hello, Chairman, he said politely. Wei Renjie pointed at old Wu and teacher Xan beside him and said with a smile, just now, the 2 teachers were praising you. They said that you're hardworking and diligent. They said that you've caught up with them and got admitted to Songqing University. Not bad. God helps those who help themselves. When I was admitted to #1 middle school from a small-town junior high school, my foundation was also very weak. Others took more than 6 years to learn foreign languages, but I only took 3 years. Others have already touched on the content of high school, but I don't know anything about it. But as long as you're willing to work hard and find the right method, you can still do it. Without waiting for Lu Cheng to answer, he made an empty seat for him and asked casually, I heard that you joined Songqing University Martial Arts Club. What's your level now? Lu Cheng thought for a while and said truthfully, I've only been practicing for a semester. Yes, he had only been practicing for a semester. As for the effect, that was another matter. At this time, the referee announced the start of the second match. Zhou Jingyao from Mingwei Martial Arts Club, who had just won, continued to fight against another disciple of amateur first pin from Gushan Martial Arts Club, Kong Feiyue. Wei Renjie watched the match and said, How do you feel after a semester of practice? Do you have a lot of actual combat? He knew from old Wu that Lu Cheng didn't have any foundation before, so he didn't think that he could improve by leaps and bounds after a semester of practice. He understood that it was just a group of boys and girls bragging. The reason why he asked Lu Cheng to come here was mainly to ask about something else. Our coach is an expert specially invited by the principal. It is said that he was at the level of physical invulnerability. He taught us very professionally like still stance. With a few jokes, he let us understand the essence. As for actual combat, I'm sure he didn't have much actual combat experience. Lu Cheng answered frankly. Hearing that the coach of Songqing University Martial Arts Club was a former mighty one of physical invulnerability, Wei Renjie seemed to be more interested. He smiled and said, Lu Cheng, can you tell me in detail about your usual training schedule and actual combat preparation before the university martial arts competition? This is what I'm thinking. After the preliminaries have decided on the leading members and invited the leading members, we'll do intensive training and actual combat practice for the next preliminaries. Therefore, I'd like to ask you about the experience of the Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Let's communicate more. Seeing that his attitude was good, Lu Cheng organized his words and said, "We usually have classes, so we can only train from 8 to 12 every day. But according to our coach, this is enough. At most, we can add 2 or 3 more hours. If we get tired of training, it's easy to hurt our body. Every time we train in the order of still stance, moving stance, strength training, footwork practice, fighting practice, and pair practice. As for actual combat, before the district competition of the University Martial Arts Competition, the main force and the substitutes will have actual combat competition under the supervision of the coach. Usually, we'll also be asked to participate in some small challenge tournaments nearby to accumulate experience." Wei Renjie listened attentively and asked his secretary to remember from time to time. In the end he said, "Not bad, not bad. The experience of Songqing University Martial Arts Club is worth learning." He then asked some specific questions. Lu Cheng answered truthfully if he knew something, and honestly if he didn't know something, he didn't make it up. When they finished the topic, the competition on the stage was also coming to an end. After a fierce battle, Zhou Jingyao defeated Kong Feiyue, but he was exhausted after 2 consecutive battles, so he voluntarily left the stage. The third match was between Shen Jinsong of Mingwei Martial Arts School and Qin Rui of Gushan Martial Arts School. The former was of amateur first pin, while the latter was of amateur second pin. "Qin Rui, come on." Under the leadership of Qiu Hailin, the students of Class 4 shouted and cheered loudly. Wei Renjie directly remembered this name, which made Qin Rui's body tremble slightly in the arena. "He's improved pretty fast." Lu Cheng thoughtfully cheered for his classmates. At the beginning of the second half of the third semester of high school, Qin Rui just passed the ranking event and reached amateur 4th pin. But now, in less than 11 months, he had improved a full 2 pins, which showed that he was indeed talented and hardworking. Looking at his tall and strong figure, he really had an advantage in the amateur level. After a hard battle, Shen Jingsong, who was taller than Qin Rui, barely defeated the 190-meter tall Qin Rui, which made Lu Cheng and the other students disappointed. After all, they were Qin Rui's relatives and friends. After losing all 3 battles, the people of Gushan Martial Arts School looked quite gloomy. Originally, the strength of both sides was about the same, but when the main force Dai Linfeng made a mistake, they naturally lost. But they still had to come to Wei Renjie with the people of Mingwei Martial Arts School and accept his post-match summary. After a long speech, Wei Renjie saw Lu Cheng next to him and suddenly smiled. He pointed to Zhou Jingyao, the main force of Mingwei Martial Arts School, and said, "Little friend Zhou, you are in the limelight today. Here is a student who is good at both civil and martial arts. He gave me a lot of advice just now. I think he is lacking in actual combat experience. Why don't you give him some pointers while the referee is still here?" He was very satisfied with Lu Cheng's honest answers, so he wanted to help him gain some actual combat experience. Lu Cheng was both amused and annoyed. "Am I lacking in combat experience?" Behind him, Jiang Fei immediately cheered loudly. He was quite confident in Lu Cheng. After all, Cheng wouldn't lie. If he said he had the strength of amateur first or second pin, then he definitely did. Even if he couldn't beat Zhou Jingyao, he could let his classmates know the power of Superman Cheng by fighting a fierce battle with him. Tao Xiaofei and the others were waiting for a good show, so they all cheered. Zhou Jingyao couldn't help but laugh, but he couldn't not give face to Wei Renjie, so he walked up to Lu Cheng, stretched out his hand and said, "Zhou Jingyao, what's your name?" "Zhang as in the name of righteousness, Yao as in the name of Xuanyu, Lu Cheng, Lu as in building, Cheng as in success." At this point, Lu Cheng didn't care anymore. Just fight. Anyway, Wang Su's enemies wouldn't suspect him. After all, they hadn't contacted each other for more than 3 years. Even if they knew he was good at martial arts, they wouldn't connect the two of them. There were too many people more suspicious than him. Shaking hands, Zhou Jingyao pointed to the ring and said gracefully, "Please." Watching the two of them walking to the ring, Yao Kong, a disciple of Mingwei Martial Arts School, who had been playing with his mobile phone, saw a joking reply from a netizen. "Maybe that guy is really a master? Really a master?" Yao Kang's heart skipped a beat. He opened the browser, selected the search page, and typed in Lu Cheng's name. After a click, the search result refreshed. He suddenly exclaimed, because there was a private forum of Lu Cheng. Could it be him? Yao Kang clicked in and saw the two IDs Eternal Nightfall and Brahmin all over the forum. And there was a conspicuous photo in the forum name. It was the guy just now. With a slight change of expression, he found a video forum. He hurriedly entered and chose to watch. Lu Cheng versus Yi Yaoting. While watching, Yao Kang's face was drained of blood. White sweat broke out all over his body in the winter. He blurted out, "Senior brother Zhou, don't fight." The surroundings suddenly quieted down. Many blank and surprised eyes looked at him, as if they were looking at a lunatic. Chapter 84. Senior brother Zhou, don't compete. Yao Kang's slightly hoarse shout reverberated in the small martial arts arena, attracting the attention of the crowd. They were all at a loss and were surprised. They didn't understand why this inner disciple of Mingwei Martial Arts School would become so agitated. There was even panic and fear in his voice. They also didn't understand why he wanted to stop a teaching competition that had no conflict of interest. Zhou Xingyao had been standing on the arena for a long time. He and Lu Cheng stood on the referee's left and right. The conversation was coming to an end, but he did not say anything. He wanted to let the newcomer adjust his state of mind and find the right state of mind. At this moment, he heard the shout and looked towards the seats. He frowned slightly, revealing his confusion and fear. Did something happen? Seeing that the chairman of the foundation, Wei Renjia, had also noticed them, the owner of Mingwei Martial Arts School, Ning Xuanli, suppressed his emotions and asked solemnly, "Yao Kang, why are you shouting? What's the matter?" Can't compete in this competition. That smiling guy opposite me is not a kitten, but a tiger. He is not an inexperienced teenager, but a mighty fighter of professional ninth pin, who defeated him with terrifying attacks. This is a trap for the martial arts school, to embarrass senior brother Zhou in front of the chairman. Yao Kang's thoughts flashed. He subconsciously felt that this kind of thing should not be said in public. For example, if the chairman was really interested in Lu Cheng's martial arts level, he would still promote the competition, but the roles of both sides would be reversed. What should I do? What should I do? Under everyone's gaze, he was anxious and irritated. Sweat poured out crazily and drenched his vest. He looked at Lu Cheng, as if he was looking at a demon king. He mumbled incoherently, and looked like he was about to be scolded. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration, and an idea came to him. He said in a frightened tone, "Master, senior brother Zhou, something happened in the martial arts school. I couldn't reach them on their phones, so they sent me a message on QQ. Let's go back quickly and talk while we go." Ning Xuanli, Zhou Xingyao and the rest gasped. All kinds of guesses came one after another. Yao Kang's expression did not seem to be fake. "Chairman, something urgent happened at home. Can we spar with Lu Cheng next time?" Ning Xuanli dared not delay, and did not have time to think about the details. So he looked at Wei Renjia. Wei Renjia frowned slightly, and immediately relaxed. He nodded and said, "Since it's urgent, you should go back quickly. If you need help, just call Huang." Goldie was his secretary. Zhou Xingyao glanced at Lu Cheng helplessly. He had wanted to use this opportunity to please the chairman, but now he could only smile bitterly and say, "Lu Cheng, let's find another chance in the future." Lu Cheng didn't know what had happened, so he politely replied, "Nothing." The Mingwei Martial Arts School was a time-honored shop for many years. What major changes could there be? In just 1 minute, under the lead of the panicked Yao Kang, a group of people from Mingwei Martial Arts School hurriedly left the Beiyuan Martial Arts Stadium, leaving Lu Cheng and the referee standing in the arena in a daze. Seeing his classmates looking back at him, Lu Cheng spread out his hands and said with a self-mocking and helpless smile, "It's a pity that I won't be able to show everyone my young hero Lu's elegance today." Puff! Some of the students who had overheard the previous conversation burst into laughter. Others also felt that Lu Cheng's response was appropriate and humorous. He easily resolved the awkwardness and unconsciously revealed a smile. Chung, I think you have a talent for crosstalk. Du Liu teased Lu Cheng as he walked off the stage. Yeah, you're so funny, Chow Lele added. Lu Cheng shook his head and said seriously. No, you're wrong. If it's crosstalk, I'm at most a supporting actor. There's someone else who's the funny one. I can't catch up with him. You really think so? Chow Lele and the other students burst into laughter again. The atmosphere became unusually relaxed. Chiu Hylan laughed for a while and pretended to be regretful. It's a pity that we didn't get to see young hero Lu's powerful martial arts today. When will you have time to show us a move or two? If there's a chance. Lu Qing answered with a smile unperturbed. Jiang Fei, who was beside him, was really regretful. He whispered, I was waiting to show off for you. What a pity that the Mingwei Martial Arts School had to be in trouble at this time. After such a scene, the students of Class 4 all knew that the scholar Lu Qing, who was not very cheerful before, had become humorous and interesting. It seemed that he also knew a little martial arts. After leaving Beiyuan, Wei Renjie returned to the city. The reunion continued. Tao Xiaofei took Old Wu and the others to the chess room. Du Liu Xiong Tao and the others played basketball. A group of boys insisted on playing table tennis and badminton with the girls. A few of them walked outside in the cold mountain wind. Lu Cheng, Jiang Fei and Cheng Qili entered the free KTV. Under Lu Cheng's hint, Jiang Fei also persuaded Chiu Hylan and Chow Lele to come over to create an opportunity for Cheng Qili, who was privately known as the Prince of Love Songs. Listening to Cheng Qili singing the old song, the most beautiful affectionately, and watching the girls whispering to each other, Lu Cheng didn't have the impulse to grab the microphone. Sitting in the corner of the sofa, he took out his mobile phone and sent a message to Yen Jika with a snickering emoji. I almost got the limelight today. After a while, Yen Jika sent a blank emoji. Did some hooligans chase after the girls in your class and keep harassing them? Did you teach them a lesson? Or did someone confess to the girl you secretly like, and you also stood out on impulse? At the critical moment, you snatched the bride, no rush to express your feelings? What kind of speculation are you making? Lu Cheng expressed his feelings with ellipses. Aren't you the girl I secretly like? At this time the song echoed around them. You are the most beautiful in my heart. Yen Jika sent a smiling emoji. Isn't this often written in novels? What kind of novel are you reading? Lu Cheng sent a dazed emoji. Yen Jika sent a proud emoji with shining teeth. Romance novel. Is there a problem? No, there's no problem. I'll beat up whoever says there is a problem. Lu Cheng replied flatteringly and changed the topic. Didn't I mention that Xiushan is going to organize a preliminaries team? Yeah, your classmate from Gushan Martial Arts School is going to compete with Mingwei Martial Arts School in the North Garden of the Conference Villa. They want you to go and cheer for them. Did you challenge both of them? That's not like you. Yen Jika pushed up her glasses and said, She knows me well. Lu Cheng felt happy in his heart, and the smile on his face became bigger. My parents gave birth to me, but Coach Yin knows me well. When we met up with Gushan Martial Arts School on the way to the North Garden, we met a professional 9th pin master. He pretended to have a small conflict and attacked Dai something senior from Gushan Martial Arts School. A professional 9th pin master? Could it be the professional 9th pin master who attacked your childhood friend's gang that night? Otherwise, how could we meet two young professional 9th pin masters in Xiushan? Yen Jika sent a contemplative emoji. Lu Cheng sent a sniffling emoji. It can't be so coincidental, right? It's almost Chinese New Year. It's normal for those professional 9th pin masters to go home for Chinese New Year. Yen Jika sent a who am I, where am I, what am I doing emoji and said, but I don't think it's so coincidental. I recall that the next morning after your childhood friend's bar was attacked by a professional 9th pin master, Gushan Martial Arts School received a challenge from Mingwei Martial Arts School, which led to today's competition. On the way, a professional 9th pin master came to pick a fight. Is it a coincidence? Well, now that you mention it, it's possible. Wang Su said that no one was killed that day, and the matter was suppressed. That professional 9th pin master really dared to move around. Lu Cheng recalled the details and found that Yen Jika's words made sense. He praised her from the bottom of his heart. You're really wise, Coach Yan. It seemed that Wang Su's opponent was inextricably linked to Mingwei Martial Arts School. Since the professional ninth pin master's attack didn't succeed, he might as well use it on the preliminaries. Yenjika sent a gleaming white teeth emoji and said, "Now you understand my reasoning ability? I've read countless detective novels and comics such as Sherlock Holmes, Agatha, Ling Xiao, Kenichi, Detective Conan and so on. I'm a master who has mastered 1785 secret room killing methods." Are there so many secret room killing methods? Lu Qing asked subconsciously. He used to be addicted to detective novels. Yenjika sent a laughing with arms akimbo emoji and said, "Don't worry about these details. Please call me Detective Famous." Okay, Miss Detective Yen," Lu Qing said with a prostrating emoji. "Miss, I'm not that old yet. It's not serious enough to call me classmate." Yenjika sent a so embarrassed emoji. Lu Qing had an idea and sent a smirk emoji. "Then I'll call you Detective Fairy." Uft. Yenjika seemed to be speechless. Fatty Jiang glanced at Lu Qing, then turned his head to look at Chao Lele and Qiu Hailin who were singing together. He clicked his tongue and said, "Chung, your smile is so F***king. How do I put it? Disgusting. If you're so capable, you can also find a girl who is so disgusting." Lu Qing mocked Jiang Fei, who had been single for thousands of years. Jiang Fei's expression suddenly became sluggish. He felt the cold wind, and was hurt by 10,000 points. Lu Qing didn't care about him. He saw Yenjika finally replied. "Okay, then what?" With a big smile on his face, Lu Qing typed quickly, "That professional ninth pin fighter didn't directly hurt Senior Dai as I thought he would. Instead, he just bumped into him and left quickly. But when they bumped into each other, I happened to be using the condensation stance and felt like I was in the desolate wilderness facing a wolf. At first, I didn't pay much attention to it. But when Senior Dai started to shrink back and seemed to be unable to concentrate, I started to suspect that the professional ninth pin fighter just now had a supernatural ability to affect my mind without leaving any trace, planting fear and changing the result of the match. It's not necessarily a supernatural ability. Secret Manual of Killing and Dark Infinite Scripture have similar secret methods of spiritual aura, which are quite strange. To put it more accurately, they are the unique skills of the Death Sect and Dark Sect. Yenjika said with an "I'm very serious" emoji. It was the first time Lu Qing heard about this. He was surprised and impressed. "Coach Yen, you know so much," Yenjika said with a snickering emoji. "I used to be in poor health and had no hope in martial arts, so I was quite passive in this aspect. Hobbies are just hobbies. I wouldn't purposely look through Grandpa's bookcase. But now I've thought it through. Even if I can't enter the Dan stage, it's still a wonderful thing to be a professional ninth pin fighter. So I'm very interested in Grandpa's bookcase and look for a few books to read from time to time." On the minibus going down the mountain, Zhou Zhengyao stared at Yao Kong and said in a low voice, "What's going on?" "The martial arts school is fine." He had already called the junior who stayed in the martial arts school. Yao Kong passed the phone to him and said, "Senior Zhou, look at these videos. They are the videos of that student, Lu Qing's competition." His face was slightly pale with fear, but there was a hint of pride in his expression. He felt that he had stopped a plot against his own martial arts school. Zhou Zhengyao looked at him suspiciously and watched the videos with the other junior brothers. The schoolmaster, Ning Xuanli, sat at the side and waited for the report after seeing that the martial arts school was fine. While watching the videos, Zhou Zhengyao suddenly raised his head and looked at Yao Kong in horror. He blurted out, "Is this really that Lu Qing?" Not to mention Lu Qing. Even the girl of professional ninth pin, who was competing with him, was powerful enough to beat the crap out of him. How powerful was Lu Qing, who defeated his opponent with violent attacks? If they were to have a teaching competition, the result would be unimaginable. Yao Kong recalled what he had seen and still trembled a little. "I've checked the information, it's him. This is a trap for us." Ning Xuanli was getting more and more confused. He said hurriedly, "Give me the phone." Chapter 85. It was the first time that Zhou Zhengyao, Yao Kong and the rest of the disciples were trembling in fear. They were no longer as arrogant as they were before, and the hostility between their eyebrows had faded away. They looked at their master, Ning Xuanli, and waited for him to make a decision. Ning Xuanli first watched the video of Lu Cheng's fight with Yi Yaoting. At the beginning, he was not surprised at all. But when Lu Cheng suddenly went berserk, like the collapse of thousands of years of snow, and the power of his attacks made people's scalp numb, only then did Ning Xuanli's eyes suddenly sharpen and unconsciously let out a sound of "ah." This kind of outburst. Did he use a unique skill that overdrew his potential, or did he awaken something? He muttered to himself. Without saying more, he quickly exited the video and watched the highlights of Lu Cheng's fights with Zhou Yuaning, Wang Yi, Wu Shitong and Jin Tao. As he read on, Ning Xuanli gasped in astonishment. Mercurial balance, he actually mastered mercurial balance. Has he achieved great success in meditation? Listening skill. This kind of listening skill is also not to be underestimated. To be able to fight so many 24 snow strikes consecutively, his physical strength is simply a monster. Every word he said was like a drum that heavily hammered on the hearts of Zhou Xingyao and the other disciples, making their faces paler and more dignified. The screen of the phone dimmed and naturally locked. Ning Xuanli did not say anything for a long time. When the bus was about to enter the SC area, he looked at Yao Kong and passed the phone to him. Not bad. You did well this time. Your reaction was quite fast. After praising Yao Kong, he sighed with emotion to all the disciples. I didn't expect Gushan Martial Arts School to be so cunning. Fortunately, little Yao is smart and found out in advance, or else all our previous efforts would have been in vain. What was the purpose of letting a professional ninth pin, with a special unique skill interfere with the opponent's leader? Wasn't it to suppress Gushan Martial Arts School in front of Chairman Wei Renjie, and leave a deep impression on him, so that they could get more resources for the preliminaries after the new year? This was not only reflected in the money, but also in the status of Xiushan Martial Arts Circle. The benefits were not small, and with this condition, there was a high chance for Gushan Martial Arts School to go further than other martial arts schools in the preliminaries. That was to get the right to lead the next preliminaries, rely on the government to seize resources, and become the uncrowned Wulin League leader of Xiushan. If Zhou Xingyao was defeated by Lu Qing in the blink of an eye, what would the chairman Wei Renjie think? Zhou Xingyao had a shocked expression on his face. He patted Yao Kang's shoulder and said, Normally, I thought that it was not good for Yao Kong to be so addicted to the internet. But now, I realize that there is a good side to everything. Yao Kong was praised by his master and his strongest senior brother again and again. He felt like he was floating in the air. He blurted out without thinking, Fortunately, we also made arrangements in advance and completely defeated Gushan Martial Arts School. Otherwise, I really don't know what kind of trouble they would have caused. They could only hope that both sides would suffer. Compared to that person? After rejoicing, Zhou Xingyao couldn't help but ask curiously, How is that possible? Then how could he defeat a fighter of professional ninth pin? A group of disciples blurted out in disbelief. Ning Xuanli's eyes turned cloudy. He sighed. This is an intuitive feeling brought by vigorous qi and blood. If you can get in touch with more young professional ninth pin fighters, instead of old guys like me whose body is deteriorating, you will be able to confirm Lu Cheng's condition. Since he has not shown the strength of Danqi state, it is easy to come to a conclusion. Sigh. It seems that you have to participate in the preliminaries. Even if you don't have the golden foundation, you still have to participate. Otherwise, if you always stay in a small place like Xiushan and don't get in touch with the masters outside, you will only become more short-sighted. Seeing that his master was so confident, Zhou Zhengyao chose to believe him. He said thoughtfully, Then how did he defeat a professional ninth pin fighter? Do I have a chance to defeat him? He should have two talents, meditation and physical strength. The former allowed him to master a good listening skill, and the basic ability of Danqi state, mercurial balance. The latter allowed him to not worry about not having enough physical strength to support his strength. When he fully utilized his strength and restrained his opponent, It would not be strange for him to win. Ning Xuanli sighed and said, Zheng Yao, don't be fooled by his lack of professional ninth pin physical fitness. If you really fought with him, there would only be one result, and that would be a crushing defeat. As for how crushing it would depend on your performance. Zhou Zhengyao felt lucky again. Luckily I didn't fight with him, or else the consequences would be unimaginable. That would be a huge loss of face. Looking at the curious and frightened eyes of Yao Kong and the other disciples, Ning Xuanli continued, compared to that guy, I'm not sure where his last burst of strength came from, so it's hard to judge. I can only say that his conventional strength is definitely weaker. The disciples nodded slightly, and each had their own thoughts. Suddenly, Zhou Zhengyao's expression changed. He said in a low voice, Is Gushan Martial Arts School going to promote him as the leading fighter of the preliminaries? He graduated from No. 1 middle school, so he should be a master born and bred in Xioshan. If that was the case, the advantage that master and the rest of them had painstakingly planned for would be gone. The formation of the team for the preliminaries would definitely seek the opinion of the leading fighter. Yao Kong and the others suddenly woke up. They did not expect Gushan Martial Arts School to have such a drastic move. Panic appeared on their faces. According to the original plan, they planned to use this advantage to recommend a professional powerhouse, who had some connections with them, after they had obtained the right to take control of the competition. Master, should we quickly contact a few professional masters from Xioshan? A disciple quickly asked. Ning Xuanli waved his hand. His cloudy eyes were calm. Don't worry. It's not a good thing for all the martial arts schools to decide on the leading fighter too early. You guys can see for yourselves, and Lu Cheng will not be the leading fighter. Why? Master, why are you so sure? You don't even know him? Yao Kong asked blankly. Ning Xuanli chuckled. He has the strength close to professional level at the age of 18, and possesses the two great talents of meditation and physical strength. Would such a person like him be interested in the leading fighter of the preliminaries in a small place like Xioshan? Moreover, he's studying in a university in another city. Wouldn't it be tiring for him to travel back and forth once or twice a week? Money makes the world go round. As long as the conditions are right, why can't he join a hometown team? Isn't he studying in a university to earn money? Zhou Zhengyao frowned. Ning Xuanli calmly replied. His fighting style is 24 blizzard strikes, and he has already mastered it. Obviously, he has inherited it, and has his own way of development. If he really wants to gain more combat experience, he doesn't lack methods, and he won't be too concerned about money for now. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. He probably helped Gushan Martial Arts School because of his classmate Qin Rue. This kind of person with potential and inheritance may have the potential to become a high-ranked Dan stage fighter in the future. Even if you can't rope him in, don't offend him. We won't be in the same circle for a long time, and there won't be any conflicts of interest. Understand? Zhou Zhengyao, Yao Kong and the rest nodded solemnly. Understood. To be honest, after discovering that Lu Cheng was so strong and so young, as one of the few masters in Xioshan, Zhou Zhengyao was a little in awe and also a little jealous. He was afraid that Lu Cheng would steal the limelight and occupy the position. Now that he heard his master's explanation, he immediately calmed down and was more in awe and admiration. That's right, we won't be in the same circle. What's the point of fighting? Ning Xuanli half closed his eyes again as usual and sighed in his heart. Of course you won't be in the same circle. How can a sparrow and a swan be in the same circle? In the free KTV of the conference villa, under the urging of Jiang Fei and Lu Cheng, Qiu Hailan generously sang an old song with Cheng Qili. Their voices echoed in the room, each with its own unique characteristics. While listening to the song, Lu Cheng was still holding his phone and chatting with Yan Zhika about what happened before. He had already reached the end of the conversation. It's a pity that something happened to Mingwei Martial Arts School at that time. Otherwise, I would have already shown my power and made my classmates' jaws drop to the ground. Yan Zhika laughed while covering her mouth. That's right, that's right. I'm still waiting for young hero Lu to make a dazzling appearance and shock Xioshan, so that I can feel honored. At that time, I can tell those who don't believe me. Look. See. Lu Cheng in the next class is the genius I was talking about. Sigh. I missed the opportunity to show off just like that. Lu Cheng deliberately sent an emoji of beating chest and stamping feet. Yenjika touched her head and said, "Actually, it's good that you didn't fight. Getting involved in the fight for the right to lead the preliminaries will probably cause a lot of trouble. By the way, what are you doing? Is the class reunion fun?" "What am I doing?" "Chatting with you," Lu Cheng said with a smirk. The most interesting part of a class reunion is actually gathering together to chat and reminisce about the past and gossip. Yenjika sat and nodded. Well, sometimes I miss the high school life. Does this mean that we are getting older? The older we are, the more we miss. I think it's the nostalgia for the past life. Lu Cheng tried to hold back his laughter. Girl, you are only 18 years old. And you are almost 1 year younger than me. My birthday is on February 2nd, and yours is on December 9th. Speaking of which, it's almost my birthday. Previously on Yenjika's birthday, he didn't dare to give her a present because their relationship wasn't as close as now. Well said. But don't think that you can avoid the question. I just asked what you are doing now. Yenjika deliberately said with an emoji of anger. Lu Cheng snickered and replied, Fatty Jiang and the others are singing karaoke. I am hiding in the corner and chatting with you. Hee, why aren't you singing karaoke? Didn't you say you are a microphone hog? Yenjika asked with a smile. Lu Cheng thought for a while and carefully said, You have to prioritize things. How can singing karaoke be more important than chatting? Yenjika replied with a smirk and didn't say much. After chatting for a while, her reply slowed down because her parents were finally on vacation and had flown to Jiangnan. She missed her parents so much that she had to follow them to pick them up. Lu Cheng had nothing to do. At this time, two figures appeared in front of him. Xiao Hailin and Chao Lele saw that he finally put down his phone and came over to tease him. Cheng, are you chatting with your girlfriend? Why don't you sing with us? Their voices echoed, and they had to come closer to talk. Haha, I am still a little bit away from being a girlfriend. Lu Cheng said frankly, although he didn't say it was Yenjika to avoid embarrassment. There was no need to hide the fact that he had a sweetheart. Xiao Hailin said, Oh, then you have to work hard. Du Liu is no longer single. Go and choose a song. Don't just listen to us sing. That's right. Cheng, come on, let's sing Little Apple. Jiang Fei cheered during the break. Lu Cheng smiled and didn't refuse. He stood up and took over the microphone. After singing a few songs, he felt a little stuffy in the room, so he walked out of the room to get some fresh air. Looking at his back, Xiao Hailin whispered into Chao Lele's ear. Cheng has changed so much. Pfft, not as much as you, monitor. Chao Lele joked. Xiao Hailin shook her head. It's not the same. I changed in appearance, but he changed from inside out. He has a temperament. That's true. I have been desk mates with Lu Cheng for 2 years. Although I feel that he is not a stuffy person, he is good at chatting and is quite humorous. But he is totally different from now. At that time, he seemed to lack confidence and was not generous enough. He seemed to be more timid. Chao Lele was a girl who was good at observing others. Xiao Hailin teased. Why? Are you moved? What a pity. Your old desk mate has a target. Bah. How is that possible? I like the pretty boy type. Chao Lele retorted with a smile. Coming out of the room, Lu Cheng walked through the hall and came out. The cold air blew on his face, making him feel refreshed. Not far away, Qin Rui was squatting by the frozen pond, smoking and looking depressed. What's wrong? Haven't you recovered yet? Lu Cheng walked over and asked. Qin Rui sighed. Yeah, I know you will persuade me that winning and losing is a common thing for martial artists. But I always feel depressed. No. I won't persuade you. Failure is failure. How can it be a common thing? What I want to persuade is that after knowing the pain of failure, you should work harder instead of smoking here. Lu Cheng told him how he felt at that time. Qin Rui was stunned and looked at Lu Cheng. Why do I feel that what you said makes sense? Haha, right? Since you want to work harder, quit smoking. Smoking is bad for your lungs. You should know how important the lungs are in martial arts. Lu Cheng persuaded. Of course, It was their business whether they listened or not. He wouldn't force them. Okay. Qin Rui thought for a moment and put out the cigarette. He looked more determined. Chung, I'll call you Chung. Don't lower yourself to Tao Xiaofei's level. He is a good person, but he doesn't know how to take care of others' feelings. Don't worry. I don't care about that. Lu Qing answered calmly. They chatted for a while. Qin Rui, who had regained his morale, couldn't wait to start training on the spot. He said to Lu Qing, I've met my classmates, chatted with them, and drank with them. This gathering is worth it. There should be nothing else. You tell Monitor that I'll go back first. Haha. Since the martial arts school lost the competition, I think it's better to be with them. Okay. Be careful on your way back. Lu Qing reminded him. Qin Rui also teased him. It's a pity that I couldn't see young Hero Lu's style today. Show me some of your moves when you have time. He entered the main city of Xioshan by an online taxi. He went back home first, and then went to Gushan Martial Arts School. When he passed by Mingwei Martial Arts School, he happened to see Zhou Zhengyao coming out. Damn, I should have taken a detour. Qin Rui felt that he would be laughed at and irritated by Zhou Zhengyao's arrogance. But he was sure that he couldn't beat him. Hey Qin Rui, your class reunion is over? Zhou Zhengyao was surprised to see Qin Rui, but then he greeted him with a smile. Qin Rui said sullenly, No. I came back early. It's none of your business. Zhou Zhengyao tried to make his smile friendly. You fought well before, but you were a bit impatient. You should be able to improve after you get rid of your temper. Well, I have something to do. Let's talk more when we have time. Qin Rui was confused. It was the first time that he saw such a kind Zhou Zhengyao. Seeing Zhou Zhengyao's back disappear on the other side of the road, he finally came to himself. He touched his cheek and blurted out, Psycho. Inexplicable. Chapter 86. Watching Qin Rui leave, Lu Qing retracted his gaze and looked at the frozen pond in front of him. Faint sounds of mahjong tiles colliding, indistinct singing, the sound of a basketball hitting the ground, and the cheerful laughter of his classmates could be heard. In front of him was his reflection on the ice, as if he had traveled back in time from high school. At that time, his face was not well defined enough. At that time, his body was thin and he often felt tired. At that time, he was not generous enough and was timid in his words and actions. It was not because he was introverted and did not like to deal with unfamiliar people, but because when facing others, unless he had a very good relationship with them, he would always think too much. He would worry about whether his words would be ambiguous, whether it would be inappropriate, or whether his words would leave a bad impression on others. He had too many scruples and thought too much, so he became more and more anxious, and the more anxious he was, the worse his performance was. But now, through the example of little Ming, the high spirit brought by the training of martial arts, and the confidence accumulated by the victories in the challenge tournament, he finally understood that many times, there was no need to think too much or care too much about other people's opinions. Just like in a martial arts competition, being overcautious and hesitant would only lead to failure. Similarly, many times, what one said was secondary. As long as the words conveyed the idea, it was enough. The most important thing was to use this to show confidence and sincerity. Of course, it was not wrong to be a little humorous. Thoughts fluctuated, and Lu Qing's mind gradually settled down. His classmates were still singing, playing basketball, playing chess and climbing. It seemed that he was the only one, looking for peace in the bustle, and reminiscing about the past in the cold wind. Familiar voices came into his ears one by one. In a trance, he seemed to be back in high school. It was hard and depressing, but at that time, it was really hard and depressing. When the sun had just risen, he had already sat in the classroom and started the morning self-study. It was already late at night, and he hadn't returned home yet. Taking advantage of the time when the evening class was over, he hurried to do his homework and discuss with the students who lived on campus. His time was occupied by one class after another, and one exam after another, and his youth seemed to have become pale because of it. However, now that he thought about it, there were also some happy bits and pieces in the midst of all this hardship and depression. It was the joy of finally getting a satisfactory score and a satisfactory ranking in the exam. It was the joy of finally finishing homework ahead of time and being able to go home and relax. It was the beauty of taking a break from the busy class and telling all sorts of interesting stories to his deskmate, the one in front of him, and the one behind him. It was the wanton display of playing and chatting during the break, the satisfaction of secretly watching Yinjika during the radio exercises, and the different jokes and care brought by different teachers. It was when Jiang Fei, Cheng Qili, and Jiang Fei would occasionally go out of school to play games and surf the net to vent their feelings. It was when they fervently chased after martial arts masters and collected their posters. It was when they crazily slept until noon on holidays. It was when they read novels intermittently in their free time. Bit by bit, yesterday repeated itself. This was his flowering season and rainy season. This was his high school life. This was his youth that he could never go back to. The cold wind blew in his face. Lu Qing suddenly laughed because he thought of a saying. Man is a vulgar animal. In the present, which is full of variables and unknowns, he is like a hungry beast. He will only wolf down his food and taste it. When everything is over, and he recalls the past, the little bit of beauty will ferment and be able to taste it. However, it can no longer be reproduced. No wonder there was such a thing as the rebirth novel. Sometimes it was not about changing history, but about savoring the past. After sighing with emotion for a long time, he suppressed these thoughts and returned to the KTV box. He sang while chatting with Yinjika. At 4 o'clock, they felt it was too stuffy here, so they went out for a walk. Looking at the beautiful mountain scenery, breathing in the cold and fresh air, they talked and laughed about their embarrassing past. At 5:30, the tour bus came again and took Lu Qing and the others back to Xiushan. Dinner was a whole roasted lamb. After that, there was no more activity. Everyone went back to their own homes. During the meal, some people talked with assurance, some laughed, some listened quietly, and some whispered. Lu Qing made a fortune in silence and ate to his heart's content. At the end of the meal, Qiu Hailin, who was sitting at the same table as old Wu, stood up and held a glass with a thin layer of red wine in it. She looked around and suddenly burst into laughter when she saw Lu Cheng's table. Fatty Jiang, you really eat a lot. You finished so much roasted lamb. There is still a lot left at other tables. No wonder you are so fat. Fatty Jiang looked aggrieved and glanced at Lu Cheng with hidden bitterness. I didn't eat much. I was just chatting, drinking, and bragging. Brothers are used as scapegoats. Lu Qing patted him on the shoulder silently. Using this topic to attract the attention of all the classmates, Qiu Hailin said in a clear voice, for this class reunion, let's start off with a toast to Teacher Wu and Teacher Xan. Then when we end it, let's toast to each other and ourselves. I know that everyone will go their separate ways in the future and have their own opportunities, so we might not have many chances to meet again. But I hope that we will never forget our friendship as classmates. You have to know that in these 3 years, yes, for some of you who came here in the second year of high school, we have spent more time together than our parents and relatives. Our memories belong to each other. Let's drink to our friendship on the long journey. A smile when we meet is enough. She is indeed from the school's speech club. Lu Qing smiled and raised his glass with water instead of wine. He knew that Qiu Hailin had joined the speech club in Capital College. Cheers! After a shout in unison, everyone drank the drinks in their glasses, looking excited and sentimental. After that, people left one after another. Lu Cheng and Jiang Fei fought until the end to wait for Cheng Qili, and Cheng Qili fought until the end to talk more with Qiu Hailin. In his eyes, there were several tables full of messy cups and plates, just like the mess after a feast, and also like waking up from a beautiful dream. Lu Qing took a deep look, exhaled, and turned to leave. He was the last one in this class reunion. Memories end here. The past can't be chased anymore. Now I need to know how to grasp the present. Just like Cheng Qili chasing Qiu Hailin. Just like me chasing Yinjika. A few days after the reunion, it was the end of January, New Year's Eve. Lu Qing watched his parents pack up for the trip to Grandpa's house. He thought for a while and walked to the balcony. Facing the pot of chives he planted, he took out his phone. At night, he had to chat with his family, chat with Yin Jika, send New Year's greetings to Kai Xiaoming and other friends, and call his master in the afternoon to express his gratitude. After the ringtone, Lu Cheng heard a familiar hoarse voice. "Not bad, you still remember to call me." "Yes, Happy New Year, Master," Lu Cheng said with a smile. "Happy," Geezer sure said in a bad mood. "Being controlled, you have to be sneaky even when smoking and drinking." "Haha, who is it?" Lu Cheng asked with a smile. Master usually looks like a lonely old man. If her thoughts were to be found out by him, she would definitely get a good beating, Geezer sure sighed. "My daughter and son-in-law." "Then please send my greetings to senior sister and her husband," Lu Cheng said politely. Hee, Master's tone didn't sound unhappy. As the saying goes, don't talk but your body is honest. After a few words of greeting, Geezer sure said, "Since you called, I have something to tell you first." "What is it?" Lu Cheng was surprised and curious. Geezer sure coughed a few times and said, "Next semester is the national competition, which has nothing to do with us. There are 8 or 9 months between the start of the semester and the next district competition. It's not enough to just practice and set moves in such a long time. I have to find some real combat practice for you guys. Otherwise, who can you beat when it comes to the district competition? Real combat practice? How?" Lu Cheng was excited. Geezer sure said, "The other schools usually find the martial arts clubs or martial arts schools nearby to exchange training, or participate in the small challenge tournament not far away in batches. I think that the intensity of real combat is not enough. How can you face the top teams in Shanbei in the future? Since you almost have the strength of a quasi-professional, and with the growth of Lin Kei and the others, you can form a team to participate in the preliminaries after the new year." "Preliminaries?" Lu Cheng blurted out in surprise. He was going to participate in the preliminaries? "Why are you surprised to hear about the preliminaries? You can have more real combat practice with the strong. Anyway, you can't go too far in the preliminaries and delay the martial arts competition's district competition in the second half of the year. Work hard. Maybe you can get some secret manuals or share the bonus." Geezer sure laughed and scolded him. For some reason, Lu Cheng suddenly felt a surge of excitement. Preliminaries. The entrance competition of the professional martial arts circle. "But Master, will it delay my usual study? The preliminaries have home and away games," he asked worriedly. Geezer sure snorted and said, "Are you looking down on your master? When the time comes, I'll inform the chairman to arrange our away games on the weekend. Anyway, it's a division so it's not too far away." Then he added, "You have to practice hard and seize this opportunity to improve. At the end of April, directly sign up for the ranking event of professional 9th pin. Directly sign up for the ranking event of professional 9th pin." Lu Cheng took a deep breath and was immediately filled with excitement. The first ranking event of professional 9th pin? That's right. A man should have a goal. After ending the call, he couldn't wait to share this with Yenjika immediately, but after thinking about it, he decided to wait until the new year, and then call her to tell her. Then he would have an excuse to enter the new year with Yenjika, while listening to the sound of firecrackers and each other's breathing. Then he could occupy her time from the old year to the new year. "I'm so smart." Back in the living room, Lu Cheng saw that his parents were almost done with tidying up. He quietly went back to the room and took out the gifts for them. Chapter 87. Carrying 2 bags. Lu Cheng suddenly felt a little embarrassed and couldn't say the words he had prepared. He said blankly, "Dad, Mom, these are my gifts for you." "Gifts?" Lu Cheng's mom put down the things in her hands and looked at him with surprise and suspicion. "Why do you want to buy us gifts? Did you do something wrong at school? Don't worry, we won't blame you." Seeing that his mother had such a misunderstanding, Lu Cheng almost burst out laughing. His embarrassment dissipated a lot. He handed over the gifts and explained, "No, I bought them with the first sum of money I earned on my own. The gift for Dad is a woolen sweater, and the gift for you is 2 sets of warm autumn wear. Try them on and see if they fit." "You bought them with the first money you earned?" Lu Cheng's mom was stunned at first, and then couldn't hide her smile. She said happily, "Oh, this, you know how to be filial. Oh, it's good to have such a heart." Lu Cheng's dad took the bags and took out the woolen sweater. He coughed and said, "Why buy gifts? You're still in school, and it's not easy to earn money. Keep it for yourself. Your mom and dad don't lack clothes." While speaking, he held the woolen sweater tightly in his right hand, as if no one could take it away from him. Seeing this, Lu Cheng felt funny and wanted to cry. He held back his emotions and said, "Don't worry, I have my own private savings. See if they fit." Lu Cheng's mom's eyes were red. She looked at the label and nagged, "You should tell us if you want to buy clothes as gifts. If you don't buy the right ones, we have to wait for a few days before we can change them. Do you have a receipt? Hey, they fit. The size is right. Hey, I secretly checked your wardrobe." Lu Cheng surrendered. "You little brat, you're getting smarter and smarter." Lu Cheng's mom laughed and scolded. Lu Cheng's dad looked at the label, pushed up his glasses and wiped the corner of his eyes. He said, "You earn this money from part-time work?" "No. Didn't I tell you that I joined the university martial arts club? I found that I had some martial arts talent and improved quickly. During the holidays, I signed up for a challenge tournament and entered the elimination stage. I got a few thousand yuan in prize money." Lu Cheng reduced the 15,000 yuan to a few thousand yuan. This was not an intentional lie to his parents, but a practical consideration. Ever since he started high school, he didn't need to hand in his lucky money and could keep it for himself. His family wasn't very strict when it came to money. However, if he kept a bonus of 10,000 or more in his own hands, his mother would be worried. She was afraid that he would squander it all. After all, he was still a student who hadn't officially entered society yet. If she offered to help him save 10,000 yuan as a daughter-in-law's book, there was no way he could refuse. He couldn't say that it was to chase after their future daughter-in-law, right? Martial arts competition? It was very easy to get hurt. Why do you want to participate in the competition? Are you hurt? Lu Cheng's mother was shocked and asked a lot of questions. Lu Cheng posed like a bodybuilder. "Mom, look at me. I'm so lively. How do I look like I'm injured?" Moreover, there are high-level referees and supervisors in official competitions. Minor injuries are not a problem, and serious injuries are already very rare. "That won't do. Accidents are bound to happen," Lu Cheng's mother said worriedly. Lu Cheng smiled and said, "If you really want to talk about accidents, it's not safe to take the bus. Can we not take the bus?" "Bah, don't jinx it." Lu Cheng's mother waved her hand. At this time, Lu Cheng's father opened his mouth and said with a smile, Okay, don't say any more. I feel that Cheng has changed a lot since he came home this time. He's more cheerful and has his own opinions." After a pause, he turned his eyes to Lu Cheng. "You're now an adult. Since you've made such a choice, we respect your choice. But I just want to remind you. First, don't neglect your studies. Second, don't give up the path you've chosen. No matter how hard or tiring it is, remember that you've chosen it yourself." "Yes, Dad. I've chosen the path myself. I'll finish it even if I have to kneel down." Lu Cheng replied using the popular words on the internet. Lu Cheng's mother glared at his father. "What adult? You've just started college. How can you be considered an adult? In our time, there were a lot of 18-year-olds who had babies." Lu Cheng's father replied in a low voice. "Humph. Then you didn't have a girlfriend at the age of 26. Lu Cheng's mother exposed him. Seeing that his mother and father had stopped arguing about martial arts, Lu Cheng heaved a sigh of relief. He busied himself with packing up the last bit of things. "Hey, now you know how to show off." Lu Cheng's mother looked at him unhappily. "Come, help me carry these things." The lackey carried the things and Lu Cheng led the way. They went out of the neighborhood and went straight to the bus stop. It was New Year's Eve. In a city like Xioshan, there were basically no online car-hailing services. They could only wait for a taxi or bus. Of course, when they came back at night, Lu Cheng's father and mother had other ways. They knew several people in the neighborhood who drove for a living, which was commonly known as little black cars. They just needed to call and pay a little more, and someone would come to pick them up. This was the advantage of being neighbors who used to work in the same factory and were quite familiar with each other. It was also a small detail in the life of ordinary citizens. After 9 stops, the family of 3 took a bus and arrived at Lu Cheng's grandparents' house. This was an elevator apartment that had been built in recent years. The old couple sold their old house as a down payment and lived here with Lu Cheng's second uncle. The elevator went up and arrived at the 16th floor. Lu Cheng knocked on the security door. After a while the door opened. A young man in his 20s said with a smile, "Cheng, you've been back for so many days. Why don't you come over for a meal?" Lu Cheng took out his slippers as if he were at home. He changed into his slippers and said, Hey, too many classmates asked me out." The man in front of him was his cousin, Lu Yanwei, who was about 1.75 meters tall. He was not fat but had a round face. His facial features were characteristic of the Lu family. He was filial and lively. He took good care of his younger siblings. During the 3rd year of junior high school, Lu Cheng's family situation was not good. He barely had any pocket money. It was only because of this cousin that he didn't feel inferior. At that time, he was the good brother of China in his heart. Lu Yanwei was good at everything, but he was too restless. When he was in his 3rd year of senior high school, he felt that college was boring, so he went to work early. Later, he quit his job and started his own business. He ran a milk tea shop, a cake shop, a taobao shop, and even a restaurant. However, these businesses either didn't make any money or were doing well in the beginning. He had no choice but to close them down. After a few years, his parents, who were also his second uncle and second aunt, were almost emptied out. He had no choice but to go back to his old place to work. "Not bad. You're doing well," Lu Yanwei said with a smile. He took out a pair of slippers from the shoe cabinet and handed them to Lu Cheng's parents. "Big Dad, Auntie, come in. It's windy outside." Lu Cheng's father was the oldest among the 3 siblings. However, because he focused on his studies, he didn't get married until he was 27. As a result, Lu Cheng was 5 years younger than Lu Yanwei. When he entered the living room, the first thing he heard was the sound of the TV and cooking in the kitchen. A middle-aged man with white hair appeared in front of him. "Second dad, grandma, and second aunt are in the kitchen?" he greeted with a smile. This was his second uncle Lu Jiqiang. Well, the 3 siblings were called Jisheng, Jiqiang, and Jixian. "Yes, we're waiting for your mom to help." Lu Jiqiang nodded. "You're so capable. What else do you need me to help you with? What's the use of being a chef?" Lu Cheng's mother Qi Fang said sarcastically. Lu Jiqiang was the best relative she always talked about. Lu Jiqiang didn't study much and chose to be a soldier. He entered the cookhouse class. After he transferred, he got married and became a driver in the Shoshan City Health Bureau. As a car driver, he often got close to the leaders and had a good chance of becoming their confidant and getting a better career. However, the leaders changed again and again. After the other drivers left, he was still just a driver. In the words of his colleagues, this person had a bad mouth and was mean. Even if he didn't show it in front of the leaders, rumors would spread. Therefore, he was delayed again and again. Fortunately, he had gotten to know some people, so he decided to take a leave of absence and use his connections to contract a canteen. Because he was from the kitchen and had good culinary skills, coupled with his wife, Wang Lily, who was diligent and hardworking, he lived a prosperous life for the past few years. Lu Cheng's parents asked him for money during their most difficult time, but he refused. Moreover, Lu Cheng's grandparents felt that their eldest son was studying and had a promising future. They didn't need to take care of him. Their second son was not capable and needed help and subsidies. After 100 years, the house and inheritance would belong to him. Therefore, Lu Cheng's mother always complained. Of course, the responsibility of living together and taking care of the old couple was completely given to Lu Jiqiang and his wife. Hearing Qi Fang's sarcasm, Lu Jiqiang said embarrassedly, "There are more dishes to cook." In the past few years, the canteen business had declined, so he didn't contract a canteen anymore. His son was too troublesome, and the family's property was almost emptied. He was in a terrible fix, and his hair had turned white. He became taciturn, and rarely spoke sarcastically. Although Chi Fong was sarcastic, she still went to the kitchen, after a few sarcastic remarks. Chung, I'm going back to my room to play games. If I stay in the living room, I'll be nagged about my partner again. Lu Yanwei patted Lu Chung on the shoulder and whispered, You can't escape forever. Lu Chung couldn't help but tease him. He had heard from his mother that his grandparents and second uncle thought that Lu Yanwei was too troublesome and wanted to find him a wife to control him and stabilize his temperament. I'll live a carefree life as long as I can, Lu Yanwei replied with grief and indignation. After watching him enter the room, Lu Chung turned to the sofa and called the old man sitting at the head of the table, Grandpa. This hale and hearty white-haired old man was his grandfather Lu Debong. He was partial to his second son and loved his grandson very much. Seeing Lu Chung come over, he smiled and said, How's life in school? Come on, have some strawberries. Sure enough, they're a family. They all asked the same questions. Lu Chung thought to himself. He casually talked about school, and then turned to a middle-aged woman coming out of the kitchen. He smiled and said, Aunt, where's Cece? She's lying in the guest room. You can talk to her. Her grades have declined recently. I'll be satisfied if she's half as obedient as you are. Lu Jixin sighed. As a primary school teacher, she didn't teach her daughter well. Okay. Lu Chung agreed readily. Hey, where's Uncle? Him. Jala kept saying that he wanted to buy a hand cannon, so I took him to the supermarket nearby. Lu Jixin pointed outside the window. Ma Jala was their youngest son, just 7 years old. He was 9 years younger than their eldest daughter Ma Shi. Lu Chung stood up and walked to the guest room. He saw a girl of 15 or 16 years old lying on the bed, playing with her mobile phone in the dim light. Cece, why don't you say hello to me? Lu Chung smiled at the rebellious girl. Ma Shi looked cute with neat bangs. She pouted and said, My mom must have asked you to come in and tell me to study hard, right? Okay, I won't say anything. Lu Chung sat on the bed. Why are you sulking here? He could tell at a glance that his cousin was unhappy. Ma Shi's facial features were ordinary, but she was full of youthfulness. She said bitterly, I don't want to go out and look at them. Ma Jala, I think Ma Jiabao is better. Lu Chung smiled and shook his head. You're angry because of this? Without waiting for Ma Shi's reply, he continued. To be honest, my mom often complains that my grandparents are biased, and that they always care about the house. But in my heart, I always feel that it's not a big deal. Especially recently, when I went abroad to study for half a semester, and saw a lot of things. I don't take it to heart. I have hands and feet, I can study and I'm talented. Why should I care about that little thing? My vision is broadened and my ambition is higher, so I don't care about many things. That's right, in just 10 days, I've earned 15,000 yuan. Yes, the champion's prize for a professional 9th pin to 8th pin challenge tournament was more than 100,000 yuan. If he entered the professional martial arts circle and became a high-ranked expert, he wouldn't care about a house in a small city. Second brother, what are you trying to say? Ma Shi listened with great interest, but she knew that Lu Chung was not just talking about this. Because of what happened to her younger brother Ma Jiala, she didn't have a good relationship with her father's relatives. Instead, she felt that Lu Yanwei and Lu Chung were her biological brothers. Lu Chung snorted. I'm telling you that it's useless to be angry. When you see more things, your vision is higher, and you're self-reliant. You won't care about your younger brother anymore. There's no need to fight over him. Your parents can love you, but you can love yourself. Ma Shi took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. Second brother, what you said makes sense. For you to broaden your vision and have the ability to be self-reliant, the best and most possible way is to study. Study well and go to a big school in a big city. In the future, you'll have the ability to make a living. Lu Chung was serious at first, but then he suddenly smiled and said, So study hard. Ma Shi was stunned and then raised her voice. Well, you're beating around the bush, but you still want to talk about study. I'm just saying, it's up to you whether you want to listen or not. Lu Qing stood up and slowly walked out of the guest room. Watching his back disappear, Ma Shi was in a daze. After a long time, she said to herself, "Study hard." Chapter 88. Back in the living room, Lu Qing sat on the other side of the sofa. While listening to the adults chatting, he took out his phone and sent a message to Yinjika. "I've sent out the gifts. My parents like them very much. They said the design is very good." Yinjika said proudly with her teeth shining, "Look at whose taste it is." "That's right. Your taste is much better than mine," Lu Qing complimented. "Coach Yen, please guide me in the future." Yinjika sent a shocked emoji. "What else do you want to learn other than martial arts?" "Yeah, you're my life coach." Lu Qing sent a snickering emoji. "You'll help me solve my single problem." Yinjika sent an emoji of touching its chin and pondering. "How can someone be your life mentor so casually? No matter what, we still have to pass the 81 trials." "What tests?" "I'm ready." Lu Qing sent a roaring emoji. Yinjika sent an emoji rolling its eyes. "I haven't decided yet. Let's talk about it later." "Alright then." Just now when my parents received the gift, they were saying, "Aya, keep the money for yourself," while clutching the clothes tightly, as if they were afraid that I would snatch it back. Lu Qing diverted the topic. Yinjika covered her mouth and laughed. Adults are all like this. Although they say no, their bodies are very honest. While they were chatting casually, Lu Qing listened to what his grandparents were talking about. At the same time, he sent New Year greetings to Kai Zhongming, Zhao Chong, Jiang Fei and other friends on QQ. At the same time, he browsed the Longhu Club forum. The forum was in a festive mood. Posts from friendly forum members were everywhere. Lu Qing glanced through them and found the post of the little girl wonton seller, replying to it with one sentence. Not long after, wonton seller at him. "Little tiger, why haven't I seen you online recently? Are you busier during the holidays?" "Yes, I'm busy. I'm busy with training, visiting relatives, and meeting my high school classmates. But I'm also browsing the forum, just lurking and not talking." Lu Qing replied. Due to the poor learning environment in junior high school, he didn't have much in common with his classmates and had stopped contacting them. The remaining few were basically childhood friends like Wang Su from kindergarten to junior high school. Wonton seller sent a funny emoji. "Are you here to wish everyone a Happy New Year?" "Yes. Happy New Year." Lu Qing replied. Wonton seller raised a big finger and shook it. "Insincere. Quick, join this group and send red envelopes to snatch them." Seeing this group ID, Lu Qing copied it and switched to QQ. He chose to search and found that the group name was Longhu Club Forum Spam Group. After answering the verification question with the nickname Schrodinger's Tiger, Lu Qing was quickly added. There were only about 30 people in the group, most of whom he was familiar with. For example, the forum moderator Pig Riding Knight Wonton Seller, Above the Sky, a plumber eating mushrooms Aquamarine Brahmin Unparalleled Dragon King, Okamoto's Love Invincible Punch, Road to the Arena and so on. Lu Qing chuckled softly and sent a red packet of 20 RMB. In the blink of an eye, all the red packets were received. Pig Riding Knight said, "Welcome, little tiger. How's your martial arts training going?" "Not bad. I'm almost at the professional level." Lu Qing deliberately sent a laughing emoji with arms akimbo. Road to the Arena laughed. You have to explain the specific meaning of the word fast. In terms of the scale of the universe, 3 to 5 years is unimaginably fast. The others joked one after another. The atmosphere was quite lively. Just then, Brahmin sent a red packet with 20 red packets of 10 yuan. Lu Qing was inexperienced in snatching red packets. He missed the red packet as he was chatting with Yinjika. He had to look at Brahmin's profile picture. She must have used a picture of herself. Her hair was braided on both sides, hanging in front of her body. She had delicate features and looked quite cute. She's really a kid in the first grade. Lu Qing whispered to himself. He had heard on the forum that Brahmin had just graduated from primary school and looked very childish. Her post seemed to confirm this, but he couldn't be sure after seeing the picture with his own eyes. Those who have received my red packet, go and support this post for me. Brahmin sent a whip-waving emoji with a link to the post. Although he didn't get a red packet, Lu Cheng clicked on it out of curiosity. He saw the title. Lu Cheng Forum is here to give a New Year's greeting. Welcome to visit again and increase your popularity. Lu Cheng Forum. What the hell is this? Lu Cheng's mouth was half open. He was stunned. There is such a thing as Lu Cheng Forum? He was stunned for a moment and clicked on the link in the post. The new forum page opened. The first thing he saw was his own picture standing in the arena. Damn, it's really my forum. When was it set up? Lu Cheng was surprised, excited, and happy at the same time. He looked down at the introductory text of the forum. This is the private forum of Lu Cheng of the Martial Arts Club of Songqing University. Everything about him is recorded here. Welcome to join us and protect his growth. Protect. Lu Cheng muttered to himself. He looked at the moderator position and saw an ID called Eternal Nightfall, while the deputy moderator was called Brahmin. She really sees me as her new idol? For a moment, Lu Cheng was a little proud and complacent. He swiped and clicked on the top post, about Lu Cheng. In the main post, Eternal Nightfall wrote, Lu Cheng is a student of Songqing University and a member of the Martial Arts Club. He participated in the first Phoenix Cup Warrior Sage Candidate Challenge tournament and got the 8th place as a fighter with no rank. He defeated 2 mighty ones of professional 9th pin. Below are the videos, photos and links to related news. He is a boy who smiles foolishly. I feel that he should be a very warm person and definitely very considerate. But when he stands on the arena, he is filled with confidence. He is crazy and ferocious, extremely handsome. I am his second fan. I hope to record every detail of his growth. The second post was a reply from Brahmin. In my mind, Lu Cheng was a very mysterious master until I saw this video of him. But this doesn't stop me from liking him. Once a silly boy is in the arena, he can bloom with dazzling brilliance and defeat strong opponents. Isn't that more mysterious and charming? I am his first fan. I hope to accompany him as he grows. Lu Cheng's expression became softer and softer as he read, and his smile became more and more obvious. But he said, this dark history spreads fast. After exiting the top post, he saw the videos, photos and related news of the Warrior Sage Candidate Challenge tournament. They were classified and organized very clearly. They were more complete than his own. In addition to these posts, there was also a return visit post from Pig Riding Night, and a puzzled post from Eternal Nightfall. She said that the number of visitors recorded in the back end had increased recently. But why were only the 2 of them still paying attention to them? Brahmin guessed that it was the result of her advertising everywhere. At the same time, Eternal Nightfall posted all over the place, saying that she would die if there was no new news from Lu Cheng. At the end of the page, there were the posts of the 2 moderators fighting for the title of the first fan. Lu Cheng read them one by one. The more he read, the more obvious his smile became. Using the words of a novel to describe it, his heart was warm, full and full. He originally wanted to follow the post, but after thinking about it, he decided that it was better to just watch silently. He didn't want to disturb the 2 little guys talking to themselves. He just posted a post in the return visit post of Pig Riding Night. He exited the forum and came to the group. He at D. Brahmin. I've visited her. I feel that your moderator is very young. About the same age as you? Brahmin used 10 times the size of a smiley face and said, Thank you, little tiger. Little Nightfall. I feel that she is younger than me. She should be a primary school student. I am her father. Primary school student. Lu Cheng's mouth twitched. Did he have the potential to attract Lolas? One is the moderator. The other is the deputy moderator. Neither of them is 14 years old. In the warm room, Yen Xiaoling was browsing the forum. Suddenly, she sneezed and said to herself, Who is talking about me? She quickly collected her thoughts and thought about a very important thing. Well, I've decided to enter the School of Arts of Songqing University this year. When it was almost time for dinner, Lu Cheng's uncle Ma Guiqin finally came back with his youngest son Ma Jiala. Uncle, where have you been? You took so long. Lu Cheng asked with a smile. Ma Guiqin pretended to be angry and said, "This kid is too naughty. He bought a hand cannon and wanted to shoot it immediately. I had to accompany him." He used to be a colleague of Lu Cheng's father, Lu Jisheng, and worked as a driver in a truck team. After the company went bankrupt, he was bold enough to ask a few of his colleagues to help him with long-distance freight transportation. It was very tiring, but he also made some money. In recent years, after the rise of online car hailing, he simply quit and bought a car with his savings. At the same time, he also worked part-time as a personal assistant. Speaking of which, most of Lu Cheng's family came from that bankrupt company, which was also a characteristic of that era. Fortunately, when the company went bankrupt, Lu Cheng's grandfather and grandmother had already retired and transferred their pension to them, so they were not too affected. For a period of time, Lu Cheng's family was very poor. He went to his grandfather's house every 2 or 3 days to have a good meal. Second uncle Lu Jiqiang was not mean and treated him well. At the dinner table, the family, who had gotten rid of their previous predicament, no longer looked worried. They talked and laughed, and the atmosphere was lively and warm. Even Lu Yanwei, who had just closed the restaurant, felt relieved. After all, they didn't owe him money, did they? At least they had a job, right? Seeing this scene, Lu Cheng's grandfather and grandmother rubbed their eyes, feeling very sentimental. The old couple was also very interesting. When Lu Cheng was a child, he knew that his grandmother had a bad temper, and his grandfather was in charge of everything at home. However, in recent years, his grandfather's temper had become more and more eccentric. His grandmother, on the other hand, was much kinder, but she was in charge of everything at home. The family ate and chatted, and sat together to accompany the old people to watch the TV show. At 10 o'clock, Lu Cheng's family of 3 got up and left. They had planned to call a taxi, but Uncle Ma Guiqin gave them a ride, which saved them a lot of trouble. Lu Cheng first sat on the sofa and continued to chat with his parents and watch TV. When he heard the sound of firecrackers around 11:40, he got up and went to the balcony. He pulled out his phone's contact list and called Yenjika. The reason why he called so early was to avoid any unexpected changes. What if Yenjika had other calls around midnight? "Hello, Cheng?" Yenjika's familiar soft and clear voice came through. Lu Cheng deliberately said excitedly, "I have something to tell you. I just called Coach Shi to wish him a happy new year. He proposed the actual combat training plan for next semester." Actual combat training? Yenjika suddenly became excited. Lu Cheng laughed and said, "He said that I've reached the level of a quasi-professional. With your cousin and your growth, we can form a team to participate in the preliminaries after the new year." Preliminaries? Yenjika's voice slightly raised, revealing obvious excitement and excitement. "I can't believe we can participate in the preliminaries." "Yes, I was also like that. That was a surging emotion," Lu Cheng said from the heart. At this time, Yenjika's voice suddenly lowered a bit. "I don't know if I have a chance to participate. I don't know if my current level is enough to be a substitute. You've made some progress in meditation, and you have a good foundation. Plus your family's kung fu. I think it won't be a problem for you to reach the level of amateur third pin after the new year. You can be a substitute." Lu Cheng hurried to comfort her. "Well, I have to work harder. I'll get up early on the first day of the new year to train and make a good start," Yenjika said with hatred. Lu Cheng could almost imagine her clenched fist and pouting mouth. He couldn't help but smile. "By the way, what's your cousin's level now?" He changed the topic in order to stall for time and wait for midnight. As expected, Yenjika's attention was diverted. She pondered for a while and said, "He's training like crazy. Grandpa said his qi and blood have reached the peak of this level. The next step is to converge his qi and blood to become one. This process may take at least a few months, or at most 3 to 5 years." She didn't mention the possibility of failure. She was very confident in Lin Quebec. Lu Cheng followed along and started the conversation. Unknowingly, time flew by. Suddenly, the sound of firecrackers broke out around them. It was so loud that he couldn't hear anything else. The same sound came from the phone. It was 12 o'clock. New Year's Eve was over, and New Year's Day was coming. After a few minutes, The sound of firecrackers weakened. Lu Cheng was happy that the call was not cut off. He heard the light breathing sound on the other side of the phone. He thought Yinjika could hear him too. Hearing the sound of her breathing, he calmed down and felt peaceful and happy. Leaning against the wall, he pursed his lips and whispered with a smile, "Happy New Year." The other side of the phone replied with a smile and whispered back, "Happy New Year." Warmth grew and joy echoed. Looking at the brilliant fireworks outside, Lu Cheng added in a low voice, "Happy New Year." Yinjika replied with a smile, "You should be happy too." Her voice wasn't loud, but it seemed to scratch Lu Cheng's heart. They didn't say anything unnecessary. They quietly listened to each other's breathing and the sound of firecrackers to get rid of the old and welcome the new. It was the first year again. After a while, Yinjika said, "Are you still going to practice tomorrow?" "Of course. I won't get seriously ill. If there are no accidents, I have to persevere. The new year needs a better start. Besides, you have to get up early to practice. You can't lose to your example." Lu Cheng replied with a smile. Suddenly Yinjika said fiercely, "Then why don't you go to bed? You have to get up at 5:30. Look at the time." Being scolded like this, Lu Cheng didn't get angry. Instead, he laughed and said, "I'm waiting to say Happy New Year to you. Well, I have to go to bed too. Wake up early, wake up early." Yinjika murmured and raised her voice. "Cheng, good night. Coach Yin, good night too. Sweet dreams." Lu Cheng smiled and waited for Yinjika to hang up first. Back in the living room, he was overjoyed. Seeing his parents, he blurted out, "Dad, Mom, Happy New Year. I'm really happy. P.S. It seems that Shang Sanjiang has been rejected. I don't know if there are any Sanjiang tickets in Sanjiang now. If there are, please give me one." Chapter 89. Lu Cheng's parents were confused by Lu Cheng's sudden blessing. They stared at him blankly and didn't respond, as if they were hallucinating. After a few seconds, Lu Cheng's mother, Qi Fang, laughed and said, "Why are you saying this to your family? Do you have to be so polite?" "It's just a whim." Lu Cheng laughed and said, "I'm going to take a shower and sleep. I'll continue training tomorrow morning." He complained in his heart. Sure enough, after growing up, he was treated differently from when he was a child. One of the things that his mother always bragged about was that when he was learning how to speak, he would suddenly follow the people on TV and wish them a Happy New Year. But now, such words were not surprising, only frightening. Hearing that Lu Cheng was going to get up early to train on the first day of Chinese New Year, Qi Fang felt sorry for him. "It's Chinese New Year. Rest for a few days. It's already so late. Lack of sleep is bad for your body. It's okay, it's okay." He took out the red packets he had received today and put them into his wallet. His grandparents had given every child except Lu Yanwei 500 yuan. His second father and his aunt had given him 500 yuan each, which added up to 1,500 yuan. This was the main source of his secret savings. His parents had given him 500 yuan each. Ma Shi and Ma Jiala had given him 500 yuan each, and his grandparents had given him 1,500 yuan each. This was the main source of his secret savings. His parents, on the other hand, had given Ma Shi and Ma Jiala 500 yuan each, and his grandparents 1,000 yuan each. After a shower, he adjusted his breathing and entered a meditative state to avoid insomnia due to excitement. With a clear mind, Lu Cheng soon fell into a deep sleep. When he woke up, the alarm clock rang. He changed his clothes, brushed his teeth, and washed his face. He was full of energy. He sent a message to Yinjika saying, "The handsome one is up." Then he took his phone and keys and left the house. The sky was still dark, the clouds had accumulated, and the street lights were dim. Lu Cheng faced the piercing cold wind and jogged on the quiet and empty road to the People's Park. Occasionally, he could see the cleaners cleaning up the remains of yesterday's firecrackers. That was the last trace of a grand carnival. When he arrived at his destination, there was a glimmer of light in the sky. But because it was the first day of Chinese New Year, the place was not as crowded as usual. Only a few old men were still training, so he didn't have to go to the other side of the artificial lake and easily found a secluded place. Inyang stance, condensation stance, training routine. 24 blizzard strikes, lightning and fire stance, big and small hand wrap. A new year must have a good start. Inside the Gushan Martial Arts School, Dai Linfeng, Qin Rue, and the others were sleeping all over the place. Beer bottles and bowls with leftovers could be seen everywhere. If it wasn't for the heating and blankets in this room, one or two of them would have frozen to death. Dai Linfeng's phone kept vibrating, waking him up from his deep sleep. He rubbed his head and looked around blankly, as if he had amnesia. When he picked up his phone, he finally remembered why he was sleeping here. It was New Year's Eve last night. After spending the new year with his family, he received a call from Qin Rue and the other senior and junior brothers, saying that they wanted everyone to stay up late and be happy, so that they could relax for the selection competition after the new year. Hey Xiaofei, what's the matter? Why are you calling so early? He saw that the caller was Tao Xiaofei the playboy. Outside the window the sky was just getting bright. Tao Xiaofei lowered his voice. He was a little excited and nervous. Brother Feng, guess who I saw? I saw the guy who bumped into you that day. Didn't you say that he played a trick on you and made you lose the competition? Dai Linfeng was shocked. Without waiting for him to finish, he asked, how did you see him? Where did you see him? According to his master, that guy was probably of professional ninth pin. A professional ninth pin with supernatural ability, or some kind of strange unique skill. Tao Xiaofei answered quickly. Last night, after our family celebrated Chinese New Year, I went out to the bar again. Then I heard that there were some new girls in Crown's bar. So I went there with them and played until dawn. I took one out and planned to have some car sex with her at the nearby Tongxiu River. Then I saw that guy practicing on the embankment. Yes, it must be him. I remember that feeling very clearly. Brother Feng, do you want to take revenge? Take your brothers and surround him. 2 fists can't beat 4 hands. What can he do? He seemed to be very interested in this kind of thing, and found it very exciting. At this time, Qin Rue and another disciple were awakened by him. They looked over in a daze. Dai Linfeng waved his hand to signal them to be quiet. He said to Tao Xiaofei in a low voice, stay away from him first. Don't let him find out. I have to ask my master about this kind of thing. At the peak of the body refining state, it was indeed difficult for 2 fists to fight against 4 hands. 5 or 6 amateur third pin masters were enough to surround him and kill him. Even ordinary people with knives and daggers would stand a chance if they had more people. But the question was, how many casualties could they withstand? How much would they be willing to pay? For example, if 5 or 6 amateur third pin masters wanted to surround and kill a professional ninth pin fighter, they would have to sacrifice at least half of them. This was without considering the collapse of morale. Dai Linfeng didn't want to see his fellow disciples die in front of him, not to mention dealing with the aftermath that gave him a headache just thinking about it. Therefore, he was worried about direct revenge and decided to discuss it with his master, Chu Weikai. He quickly hung up the phone. Without looking at Qin Rue and the others, he dialed his master's phone. Chu Weicai's qi and blood began to decline. He slept early and woke up early. At this time, he was already eating longevity noodles on the first day of the new year. He picked up the phone and said hello. Master, I have a friend who saw that professional ninth pin. He's still in Xiushan. Dai Linfeng said concisely. Chu Weikai put down the chopsticks in his right hand and lightly tapped the table. After a moment of silence, he said, don't get involved in this matter. The storms of the Jianghu aren't something you can handle right now. Just give Zhang Mingle a call and tell him the news. Yes, master. Dai Linfeng answered respectfully, and then searched for Zhang Mingle's spare number. Zhang Mingle was the famous master Lu in the underworld circle of Xiushan. He used to practice martial arts with his master, and was an amateur first pin master in his heyday. However, after years of smoking, drinking, money and sex, it was hard to say what level he was still at. But his 2 subordinates, Zhang Biao and He Wei, were not easy to deal with either of them. They were taught by his master and restrained. If he faced any one of them, he only had a 60 to 70% chance of winning. As for his master, he used to be a professional ninth pin master in his prime. He was muddle-headed and mingled in the underworld circle of Xioshan, and became one of the few big bosses. However, he was plotted against in a dispute, and was seriously injured. Since then, he had no hope of reaching the Dan stage. He was deeply regretful and quit. Today he often said that if it weren't for his frivolity, he would have developed the martial arts club and left Xioshan. He found the number and dialed it. After a few rings, Dai Linfeng heard Zhang Mingle's familiar voice. "Hey, Junior Dai, why are you looking for me so early in the morning? I have a friend who saw that professional ninth pin master. He's still in Xioshan," Dai Linfeng said. There was a moment of silence on the other side of the phone. Then a suppressed voice came. "He hasn't left yet. Where is he?" "He's practicing on the embankment behind the Crown Bar on Tongxiu River," Dai Linfeng said honestly. "Junior Dai, as your brother, I'm very grateful. You don't have to worry about this. I'll take care of it." Zhang Mingle exhaled. After ending the call, Dai Linfeng met the eyes of Qin Rui and other brothers. He laughed and said, "Tao Xiaofei saw that professional ninth pin master who bumped into me, but our master told us not to get involved, and let Master Le handle it." Qin Rui was young and full of curiosity. He took a breath and said, "Senior Dai, we won't get involved, but we can go and watch. We can meet with Tao Xiaofei, and hide in the car to see how Master Lu will deal with that guy." Dai Linfeng was stunned and nodded slightly. "Okay, let's go find Tao Xiaofei. It was this guy who made him lose face in front of the chairman, and caused the martial arts club to lose this year's resources." In a secret hiding place, Zhang Mingle, who was half lying on the bed, gripped his phone tightly. His facial muscles were twisted, and looked extremely ferocious. He was still wrapped in bandages and dripping. That King Jian Laosan, he won't stop. Damn it, he still dares to stay in Xioshan. Does he really think I'm a sick cat? He gritted his teeth. That professional ninth pin master hid in Xioshan for so many days. It went without saying why. That guy wanted to try again when he felt safe. Zhang Mingle gritted his teeth when he thought of that kick and almost died. But when he saw Zhang Wei and He Biao coming in from outside, he calmed down. One of his two Vajras was on crutches, and the other was tied up like a mummy. It would take at least 3 to 5 months for them to recover. He took a breath, picked up the phone and called the other men. "Suzai, come over here for a while. Be careful, don't be followed. We'll talk about the details later." 15 minutes later, the 5 of them, led by Wang Su, gathered at the hiding spot. This was also thanks to the fact that the road was empty early in the morning. Zhang Mingle said seriously, "That professional ninth pin master has been found. He's still in Xioshan. We can't take this lying down. We have to teach them a lesson." As he spoke, he opened the box in front of him, revealing 5 black handguns, shining with a metallic luster. Then he looked at Wang Su and the other 5 and said, "These are goods from the south. They're of good quality. You've tested them many times. Today they'll come in handy. Take them and kill that guy. I'll take care of the rest. When the time comes, you guys can go into hiding and come back in 1 or 2 years. Anyway, whether you succeed or not, I guarantee you won't be short of money for the rest of your life." Wang Su's expression changed slightly. Then he straightened his back under Zhang Mingle's gaze and said, "Don't worry, Master Le. Leave it to us." "Good. The rest of you, leave your phones here in case the news gets leaked. If there are any changes, I'll tell Suzai." After the raid on the bar, Wang Su had entered Zhang Mingle's inner circle. This time, he was able to keep his phone as a communication tool. Coming out of the hiding place, they came to the back of the Crown Bar. From afar, they saw someone practicing boxing on the embankment. Suddenly, Wang Su's heart tightened. He didn't feel safe. 5 men with 5 guns seemed to be very powerful. There was a high possibility that they could kill that professional ninth pin master. But they were gangsters, not policemen, soldiers, or killers. It was normal for them to touch a gun once every 2 or 3 months. To suddenly attack a professional ninth pin master, they were not sure. And the attack of a professional ninth pin master was quite terrifying. He might not be able to withstand a punch or kick. He looked at the terrain and said to the other 4 men, "We can't go directly. The view on the embankment is broad. He can find us from far away. Once he escapes, we can't catch up with him. It's better to wait for an opportunity on his way back. Yes, Brother Su is right. The others agreed. Seeing this, Wang Su picked up his phone and said to the other men, "I'll report to Master Le." Slightly turning his back to the others, he dialed Lu Cheng's number first. Hello. That professional ninth pin master is indeed on the embankment of the Tongshu River behind the Crown Bar. We don't dare to approach. Hello, we are afraid of being discovered. Hello, there's no problem with the guns. We plan to ambush him on his way back. Hello, what kind of broken signal is this? Wang Su pretended to hang up the phone and dialed again. This time, it was the real Zhang Mingle. In a secluded place in People's Park, Lu Cheng held his phone and pursed his lips. He was worried and angry at the same time. Do I have the ability to get involved with a professional ninth pin master who is involved in gangs, guns, and secret mental skills? I'm just a freaking freshman. Wang Su, you are trying to kill me. Do you think I owe you something? Why do you need me for this kind of thing? If you knew this, why didn't you listen to my advice? While thinking, he really wanted to press the button on his phone and say, "Hello, is this a police call?" But after thinking for a moment, he gave up on doing so directly. Gangs definitely have protection in the police system. It was easy for them to leak information. This was equivalent to selling Wang Su out. Therefore, he had to find a trustworthy police officer. Although he had no connections, he could ask others for help. First, Yenjika had mentioned that her grandfather had many disciples in the police force. She and her mother lived in Xioshan, so it was natural for them to know a few local police officers with real power. Second, his master was a former mighty one with physical invulnerability. He had a well-developed network and seemed to be in a high position. He could even interfere with the preliminaries. It was normal for him to have connections with the police force, where fighters held real power. Who should he find? This was a problem. But no matter what, he couldn't recklessly get involved in this kind of thing. He had a good relationship with Wang Su, but he didn't need to risk his life for him. He was not Yenjika, nor was he his parents. P.S. Updated in advance on Monday. Please recommend Sanjiang tickets. Chapter 90. Who should I find? All of a sudden, Lu Cheng's mind was filled with this question. Normally speaking, it would be the most reasonable choice to ask Yenjika for help, because her family was also a native of Xioshan. If she had a good relationship with the local police force, she would probably know the background of Lu and Jian Lao San, so that she could avoid those protective shields and find the most suitable candidate. But there were 3 drawbacks. First, it was not Yenjika's own relationship. Even if she agreed, she would have to ask her mother, or even her grandfather for help. If there was a turnover in the middle, she might be delayed or rejected. The second reason was that he usually asked Yenjika for help. It was a good thing to increase the contact between them and build feelings through interaction. He enjoyed it, but he always felt embarrassed to ask for help from her family. Maybe this was the so-called self-esteem. Third, even if Yenjika's mother and grandfather agreed, it was inevitable that they would have a bad impression of him. For example, if he was involved with the mafia, a decadent youth who was not willing to learn good things, or a troublesome guy who broke the rules with martial arts, how could he come to visit them in the future? How could he meet his father-in-law and mother-in-law? How could he pass this test? If one did not consider the future, there would be immediate worries. After thinking about this, Lu Cheng quickly made a decision and dialed his master's number. While waiting for the call to be answered, he couldn't help but praise himself. I really think far ahead, even if I haven't taken any shape yet. Hey, shouldn't you be practicing martial arts at this time? Did something go wrong? Soon, Gizershur's slightly puzzled voice came from the receiver. It was urgent, so Lu Cheng didn't beat around the bush and said directly, "Master, I need your help. I have a childhood friend." He told Gizershur about Wang Su in a few words, and explained the cause and effect clearly. Gizershur coughed twice and said, "Not bad. You know how to call me instead of rushing over to get involved. This shows that you still have some brains. Otherwise, this old man wouldn't have accepted such an idiot as my disciple. I'll help you find him. Wait for my call. Thank you, master. Thank you, master. Lu Qing thanked him repeatedly. This was already a great favor for Wang Su. A few minutes later, Geezer sure called back with a slightly smug tone. Your master am in charge. Isn't this a piece of cake? Remember this phone number, and call him directly. He is the deputy director of the Xiushan police station, who is in charge of the underworld affairs. Don't worry. No matter whether the two sides have connections with him or not, how can he have a stronger connection than your master? There are some things that he knows how to do. Master, you're really amazing. You really have a wide circle of friends. Lu Qing sincerely praised. He squatted down and slid his finger on the soil to write a number. Then he hurriedly dialed it. After a short ringtone, a steady and magnetic voice came from the other side. Hello, is this Lu? Yes. Hello, Director Xing. Lu Qing was stunned. Has my master already mentioned me to you? Director Xing laughed heartily and said, I've heard a lot about Senior Sure. Lu, let me ask you a few details. Just now, your teacher gave a brief explanation. Okay, Lu Qing said happily in his heart. After 3 or 4 details, Director Xing laughed and said, Lu, don't worry. Leave this to me. I'll take care of it. If I can't get in touch with him, I'll lead the team directly. Thank you, Director Xing. Lu Qing was a little relieved, and then called Wang Su back. Based on his knowledge of the surroundings, Wang Su had confirmed that the professional ninth pin fighter lived in one of the old residential areas behind the Crown Bar. So he waited for an opportunity at the intersection of the street and the road leading to the embankment. Because it was the first day of the new year, most of the breakfast stalls here were not open. Only 1 or 2 that had to rely on this for a living were still open, providing hot food for the people who had played all night in the bar nearby. Wang Su and 4 thugs were pretending to be passers-by, sitting around a simple table, watching the white-haired stall owner cook noodles in a big iron pot. The cold wind blowing through the street was bone-chilling. The phone rang. Wang Su glanced at it, and his face changed slightly. Then he immediately put on a smile and said, Hello, La. What can I do for you? With the experience of the last call, Lu Qing was not surprised. He said calmly, I've called the police. I asked someone to find a trustworthy police. His solution was to scare off both sides with the arrival of the police, in case something irreparable happened. Even if Wang Su was arrested, with his relationship with Director Xing, and the gun did not belong to him, it was still possible to fight for a lenient sentence. At that time, he would not dare to follow Lu anymore. As for the professional ninth pin fighter with the secret mental skill, since he had been exposed and attracted a large number of police, he would not dare to continue to stay in Xiushan. All his schemes would have to be put on hold. Things would calm down. The only problem was whether Lu would suspect Wang Su of leaking the information and do harm to him. He could only rely on Director Xing's plan. As a freshman, he really could not take care of everything. Hearing this, Wang Su frowned. This was not what he had expected, but now he could only accept it. After all, no matter what, it was better than fighting to the death with a professional ninth pin master. If he was not careful, he would really die, and there would be no tomorrow. If he hadn't witnessed the terror of a professional ninth pin fighter during the raid on the bar, with his usual hot-blooded courage and willingness to risk his life, he might have had the guts to do it. Okay. We'll be patient and wait. When the time comes, we'll try to solve it in 2 or 3 moves. Wang Su answered with a respectful look. He glanced at the 4 thugs beside him, and glanced at their faces one by one. He noticed the cool earrings, the tattoos on their necks, heavy eye bags, and slightly trembling bodies. In the People's Park, Lu Qing moved the phone away from his ear and fell into deep thought again. Normally, to do this, he had used up a lot of favors, so he had a clear conscience. But after all, he was still worried that something bad would happen. For example, Director Xing could not get in touch with the professional ninth pin fighter, so he could not directly scare the professional ninth pin fighter away and put an end to the matter. For example, before the police arrived, 2 groups of people would meet on a narrow road. Lu Qing paced back and forth, took a deep breath and exhaled. He walked out of the park and planned to take a taxi to the Crown Bar. Well, I won't get close. I'll hide and watch. I won't interfere. I'll see if I have a chance to help Wang Su at the critical moment. If not, I won't take the risk. And in the early morning of the first day of the new year, online taxis and taxis were rare. If he could not make it, it could only be said that Wang Su had done his best and had a clear conscience. A black car drove across the road and stopped in front of the BMW 7 Series. Dai Linfeng took out his phone and called Tao Xiaofei. Xiaofei, did you see us? Brother Feng, when are we going to do it? Tao Xiaofei sat in the driver's seat and hugged a woman in disheveled clothes. He was very excited. From Dai Linfeng's seat, he could see the figure practicing boxing on the embankment. He could also see the streets of several old residential areas and the steaming iron pot on the right. He had a good view and said cautiously, "If we don't do it, someone else will do it. Xiaofei, will he be alerted if we stop here?" "Don't worry, Brother Feng. There are many cars parked here. Who will be suspicious?" Tao Xiaofei said casually. In the black car, Qin Rui, who had to lower his head and shrink his back to sit, looked in the direction of the embankment and whispered, "It's really that guy. I don't know how Lu is going to teach him a lesson." He was very curious about this, and also a little excited like Tao Xiaofei. As time went by, Lu Qing appeared on the other side of the street. After he left the People's Park, he met a taxi not long after, and soon it arrived at the nearby area. Looking at the figure of the breakfast stall at the intersection, he did not go closer. He put his hands in his pockets and hid in the shadow of the road, waiting for the police with a distance of about 50 meters between them. Hope nothing unexpected happens. Wang Su was also looking forward to the police and praying to God. However, God did not seem to hear his voice. The wolf-like professional ninth pin came back along the road. He was dressed in a black training suit, looking capable and valiant. His eyes flickered with a cold light as he glanced around from time to time, as if he was already used to this. Dai Linfeng, Qin Rui, Tao Xiaofei, and the others subconsciously held their breaths. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly for fear of being discovered. The dark film of the window blocked the view. The professional ninth pin man glanced at the several parked cars and turned into the street. In front of him was the noodle stall and the familiar iron pot that he saw every day. Around the simple table sat 5 young men who seemed to be gangsters. Did they just come out of the bar? The man in the black exercise suit sized them up. He could not help but squint, because the 5 of them looked a little nervous. 2 of them did not even have a hangover. Wang Su was also nervous. He cursed in his heart why the police were not here yet. He put his hand down and touched the gun at his waist. At this point he had to take action. Otherwise, how could he bear Li's anger later? If he did not dare to take action without a reason, it would be a light punishment if his hands and feet were broken. He exchanged glances with the other 4 and nodded slightly. Suddenly, they stood up together, pulled out their pistols, and aimed at the dangerous professional ninth pin man. The distance between them was less than 5 meters. With their little practice, it was enough for them to hit him. At this moment, the man in the black exercise suit suddenly shouted. His eyes flashed with a green light, and his momentum rose. Wang Su and the 4 thugs felt as if they were in the open wilderness, facing a terrifying giant wolf. Their bodies and minds trembled and paused. A short pause was the difference between life and death. Instead of retreating, the man in the black exercise suit moved forward as fast as an arrow. He rushed to the front of the 5 in a few big strides. His muscles contracted. He leaned sideways and lowered his shoulder. He suddenly burst out and hit the thug with the earring, knocking the gun in his hand to the ground and breaking the bones between his chest and abdomen. The thug let out a painful howl. With a crack, the thug flew backward and hit Wang Su and the other 2 thugs. They staggered a few steps and could not shoot at all. It was as if everything was calculated. At the same time, the man in black exercise clothes used his back as an axis and gathered all the strength in his body. He leaned to the side to avoid any possible random shots. He tightened his thigh muscles, and with a bang he took the opportunity to whip his leg upward. He straightened his instep and kicked high into the air, right in the temple of the tattooed fighter, who did not retreat. Bang! The strength poured in and suddenly exploded. The tattooed thug felt his brain explode and instantly lost consciousness. Under this terrifying strength, his 2 eyeballs burst out and fell into the big iron pot, staining the bubbling water red. This, Qin Rui, Tao Xiaofei, and the others were trembling with fear, as if they had encountered a demon from hell. It was not terrible to kick a person to death with a whip leg. What was terrible was to squeeze the eyeballs out of their sockets. What kind of terrifying power was this? Wang Su and the other 2 thugs stood firm and did not care about their companions. They only slightly aimed and pulled the trigger together. Bang! 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 3 loud sounds like firecrackers burst out, but the man in the black exercise suit suddenly disappeared. He fell to the ground with the momentum of the kick and rolled forward to avoid the 3 bullets. After a roll, he had already arrived in front of the thug with heavy eye bags. He did not get up but straightened his back, pressed his left hand down, and clenched his right hand into a fist. He fiercely punched between the thug's legs. Bang! The thug with heavy eye bags screamed miserably and dropped his gun. He covered his crotch with both hands and rolled on the ground. Blood and urine kept flowing out. Seeing this situation, Wang Su, who had failed to shoot, and the thug, who was already trembling a little, lost all courage. Their companion's eyeballs flew out, his face with a black hole mixed with blood, and the flowing urine instantly flashed in their minds. Without any thinking, driven by instinct, they collapsed and fled to the other side of the street in panic. They did not seize the best opportunity, with the guns in their hands. The man in the black exercise suit saw this and sighed. He had reached his limit in the fight just now. If the other party had not been scared away, he would not have stood up and lost his mobility. He was afraid that he would have to take 1 or 2 bullets. As for whether he would die, be disabled, or be lucky not to be hit, he could only leave it to fate. He stood up like a carp and picked up the big iron pot in front of the boss, who was paralyzed with fear. He rushed forward and poured the pot in front of him. Ah! Wang Su and the remaining thugs were drenched by the boiling water. They screamed and fell to the ground. The man in black exercise clothes threw away the iron pot and caught up with them in large strides. Viciousness appeared on his face. He kicked the remaining thug's throat with his strength from his shoulder to his waist, from his waist to his legs, and from his legs to his toes. The scream stopped abruptly. The man in the black exercise suit looked gloomy and kicked again at Wang Su. Bang! A foot appeared in his line of sight, blocking the fatal kick. He raised his head and saw a teenager in a white martial arts suit with black edges. Lu Cheng. In the car, Qin Rui suddenly sat up straight and hit his head on the roof. P.S. Please recommend Sanjiang tickets that you're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.